You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion new single, my hater, the big better put on the road, I just spit. I know we got $1 million, the devil, that shit, and I cheap it again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the 8th part of, What If Naruto Enters Undertale? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Hussbek on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Naruto woke up the next morning, stretching his arms with a loud yawn and looked to see that Israel and Monster Kid were still fast asleep, much to his amusement when he noticed Chara floating close by and greeted her. "Good morning, Chara. What's with the flower crown?" Then Naruto sensed something which made him frown a bit. "And why do you feel different from before?" Chara looked nervous as she spoke. Naruto. Can we talk somewhere private? There's something you need to know." Okay, Naruto got up and left the tent with Chara to talk somewhere private for him and the ghost girl. "So, what is it you want to tell me which has to do with why you feel so different?" Well, it went like this. Chara proceeded to explain to him what had happened last night when Chara went into Frisk's mindscape and encountered the other Chara of his timeline, their fight against each other, and their merging once they had come to terms afterwards. "So, that was why Frisk had been having those nightmares," said Naruto with a small frown. "For what it's worth, the other half of me is really sorry for what she did," said Chara with her head bowed in remorse. "Sigh, this is going to be another bitter pill to swallow for the others. I'll talk to Mom and see about contacting everyone to come over for us to tell them what happened. I'm really looking forward to this, Naruto." "Same here, Chara." They went back to the tents and saw that they were all awake and greeting each other. Naruto quickly took note of Frisk appearing more energetic and cheerful, making Chara feel more guilty because of her other half having been responsible. The others also noticed with Israel being vocal about it. "Hey Frisk, you're looking better now. Even the bags under your eyes are gone," said Israel excitedly. Red took a closer look. "He's right, your complexion has improved greatly. Does that mean the nightmares aren't bothering you anymore?" Frisk hummed thoughtfully. "I think you're right, the nightmares didn't bother me last night, but I had a strange dream. It was like the nightmares were chasing me again, but then something appeared and fended off the dream. Since then, I was able to sleep peacefully." "That's a weird dream all right, but I guess it means that you'll be going back to your old self now," said MK with optimism. "I hope you're right, those nightmares weren't pleasant." Chara floated up to them. "Good morning, everyone." "Good morning, Chara." Israel greeted in response. Then he noticed the flower crown. "Hey, you're wearing a flower crown. It reminds me of when we used to make some for everyone." "Why yeah," the ghost girl flinched at the memory, her guilty conscience really getting to her. Noting her current emotional state, Naruto spoke up. "Anyways, I'll be calling everyone over after breakfast for a meeting." "Why is that?" asked Frisk confusedly. "It has to do with your recovery and something else. We'll tell you everything when everyone's gathered." "Okay." An hour later after breakfast, Naruto had called everyone comprising of the Dreamer family, Sans, Papyrus, Undyne, Alphys, and his mom, whilst having MK and Red go home for the meantime. He and Chara went on to tell them what had happened last night, the latter speaking of her findings and discovery of the cause of Frisk's nightmares being the Chara of their timeline. Needless to say, everyone were shocked, with some in disbelief being Toriel, Sans and Undyne. She went on to explain Chara's reason for why she was tormenting Frisk until Chara put a stop to it. "Is our Chara still inside of Frisk?" asked Toriel uncertainly. Chara shook her head sadly in response. "She's not in Frisk anymore. She merged with the Chara from the genocide timeline into one to become a new being that is me. The flower crown of buttercups on my head represents their shared longing to seek redemption for their sins." This shocked then saddened some of them. I've never heard of such a phenomenon amongst humans," said Alphys, trying to come to terms with this new information. I'm not as brainy as anyone here, but this is hard to take in, said Undyne. Tell me about it, I don't even have any puns for this, said Sans. For once, I'm not irritated about that, Papyrus added. Oh Chara, Asriel was saddened to hear what happened and felt guilty. Ascari and Toriel felt the same way, especially when they learnt of Chara's reason of her anger. Our Chara may not be with us anymore and merged with the other Chara to create you. Even so, Toriel looked at Chara who couldn't bring herself to look in her eyes, a part of her still within you, which means that you're her no matter what. Chara looked up to see Toriel and Ascari smiling at her with the same kindness as the day they first met her. This made her smile back at them. Thank you, I promise to make it up to everyone for what I did. Frisk walked up to Chara and bowed her head. Thank you for helping me, Chara. I don't deserve your thanks, the half of me was the cause of your nightmares to begin with. It is rather me that should apologize to you for putting you through all that, Chara explained. It's okay, I'm just glad everything turned out okay in the end. Just keep in mind that we'll be keeping an eye on you, said Undyne sternly, being ever vigilant, much to the disagreement of the Dreamer family. Chara nodded in affirmation. I wouldn't have it any other way. Then she turned to speak to Asriel. I have a message for you, Azzy, it's from your Chara. Ah really? Asked Asriel. He felt uneasy considering the last interaction he had with Chara before their deaths. What is it? Chara took in a deep breath and began to speak. I'm sorry Asriel, for being a terrible friend and sister-sibling. I should have never pushed you into making you kill the humans against your will after everything you and the monsters had done for me. I'm undeserving of your friendship and kindness. The least I can do to make up for the past actions I've caused is to merge myself with the other Chara to become one as a whole new and different being that would benefit us to seek redemption. My only regret is that I should have never come up with that plan, which not only killed us but also ruined the lives of everyone else in the process. All I wanted to do was help the monsters be free from the underground, but I let my blind hatred towards humanity blind me to going about things wrongly. I don't expect you to forgive me, and if you don't, I'll understand. Just know that while I'm no longer here as I'm a part of this Chara now, I'll always love you as my crybaby brother and best friend. I'm also sorry for tormenting Frisk and hope she forgives me for my actions. Teardrops could be heard plopping on the carpet as Asriel stood there with tears flowing down his cheeks as he listened to Chara's last message to him. Toriel and Ascari were also crying, hearing their surrogate daughter's message as well. Even Undyne and the others were saddened about it. Chara, Asriel sniffled. He wanted to hug Chara but couldn't. Since she's a ghost, I'm sorry too. If I wasn't such a crybaby, I would have stopped you before you even began the plan. I'm also at fault. Maybe, we should take some time to come to terms with this news if that's okay with you, Kushina suggested to everyone. I think you're right, we'll do just that. Naruto and Chara saw everyone off from the front door. The latter then spoke. I really hurt them, didn't I? I won't sugarcoat things and say you did, but that's exactly why you're trying to redeem yourself, because you know you did something wrong and regret it. It will be a long road, but I know you can do it. Chara looked at Naruto with gratefulness at how he was so understanding. Thank you, Naruto. No problem, said Naruto with a foxy grin, and Kushina looked at the two with a gentle smile, seeing how her son has changed so much. Several days later, after things had calmed down a bit, Naruto was walking down the road through the city with Chara floating next to him. So where is it that we're going? Asked Chara curiously. To the antique shop. I want to check out the tea sets there since Ms. Muffet will be needing those for her tea shop in the future. Considering that I've got nothing else to do for now, I figured I could go and take a look. But I thought you agreed to go there with her. True, but I figured that I'd look first, and since I've got free time right now, it was a great chance to do so, Naruto explained. They eventually arrived at the shop, which was called Relics of Time, then went inside to find many items ranging from pottery to furniture with unique designs on display before them. An elderly man stood up from behind the counter to address his new customer since Nikken had to wait outside and he couldn't see Chara. Hello, young one, and welcome to my shop, said the shopkeeper. It's me, old man, Naruto Uzumaki. I came here some time ago with my mum. You know her by Kushina Uzumaki, Naruto pointed out. The shopkeeper pushed his eyeglasses up in thought, then his eyes suddenly widened upon realization. Oh, it's you. It has been quite a while since I last saw you, and it looks like you've grown with the time past. Makes me really feel my age. I came here to see if there's anything new in your shop. A friend of mine wants to start up a tea shop and I wanted to get some good ones here, Naruto explained. Why, of course, you came to the right place. I have a lot of genuine tea sets just waiting to fulfill their intended purpose of serving tea. Just go down to the end and take a right, you'll find them there, the shopkeeper instructed amiably. Thanks a lot, old man. Following the directions given to them, Naruto and Chara made their way to the section where the tea sets were on display and saw many made of particular materials such as stainless steel, porcelain, ceramic, fine bone china and stoneware. There are also the styles by which they were made from countries like English vintage, antique Japanese, Korean and Chinese. There are so many types of tea sets, said Chara in surprise. Naruto smiled at her reaction. That's the same reaction I had when Mom brought me here. Seems like there are a lot more than when I came here last time. He went on to examine each of the tea sets. He may not have that kind of knowledge about antiques, but he can tell they're of high quality. So, will you buy one of the tea sets? Asked Chara curiously. Naruto hummed in thought before giving a reply, sure, plus it could also act as a sample/present for Ms. Muffet too. And I think I found a good one. He went over to a shelf where there's a fine bone china tea set with flower prints of sakura leaves on them. Now I'll just take it to the old man and Naruto was about to pick up the tea set when something caught his eye. He looked to see something glinting further down from where he was standing and went to check out of curiosity. He reached a table which has a velvet cover and on it is a jewel box which was open to display a comma-shaped bead with a small perforation at the rounder end made out of green jade which shone before him. What's that, Naruto? Asked Chara. It's called a magatama, which originates from Japanese culture. It's said to symbolize good fortune for whoever bears it, along with other meanings like protecting one's health, eliminating calamities that may harm one's body, and even has strong power to repel evil spirits, Naruto explained. Really? Naruto was looking at the magatama when it suddenly glowed brightly and he was assailed by a vision of white. He saw a blurry image of a man with pale skin wearing white robes of a monk and holding a staff. The unknown man turned towards him and his mouth moved, but he couldn't hear what he was saying before the vision ended. Naruto was snapped back to reality by Chara calling out to him. Naruto! Chara called out worriedly. What happened? Asked Naruto confusedly. I should be the one asking, you were the one simply standing there and wasn't responding to me. I don't know, I was just looking at it when I suddenly had a weird vision, Naruto explained confusedly. You're saying that there might be something special about the magatama? Asked Chara. That's what I'm thinking right now. Maybe you should take it to the shopkeeper, he might know something about it. Good idea. Naruto took the magatama and the tea set to the counter where the shopkeeper was waiting for him. So, you're back and with interesting choices in hand, the shopkeeper commented. Yeah, I'd like to buy this tea set and I also wanted to ask about the origins of the magatama. Naruto held out the item for him to see. The shopkeeper adjusted his eyeglasses. Ah yes, that one. It has been here the longest out of all of my antiques, as in it was here when I first opened this shop. From what I know of the magatama, it had been uncovered from the ruins of an unknown temple which was a fair distance away from Mount Fuji. The inscriptions found on the temple walls and ancient scrolls were mostly intelligible, but what we could salvage from fragments is that the temple once belonged to a monk who believes in attaining peaceful bonds by connecting their hearts and spirits together in order to achieve absolute understanding of each other. Could the monk be that guy whom I saw in that vision? If so, then why was I the only one who received it? I get the feeling that I'm about to be involved into something again, thought Naruto. Anyways, you intend on purchasing these too? Asked the shopkeeper curiously. Yeah, I do. Is it in cash or money transfer? I'm accepting either of them, been doing so for the latter option given how today's economy had developed preferences to electronic transactions, unlike back in the old days when we simply took cold hard cash. Naruto took out his phone and prepared to make the transaction from his bank account since he has quite the nest egg in it. After safely packaging the two purchased items, Naruto left the shop and decided to take a taxi home since he would show Ms. Muffet the tea set some other time. Upon arriving at home, Naruto placed the tea set at a safe place and made himself some lunch, which was roast beef sandwiches and a glass of milk. After eating, he went to relax on the sofa to watch some TV with Chara floating above him and Nikken sitting next to him with the wolf pup placing his head on the blonde's lap. They were watching a TV show when Naruto's phone started to ring loudly. He looked at the caller ID to see that it was Mettaton that's calling him and answered it. "Hey. Mettaton, it's been a while. How's life in Hollywood?" said Naruto. "Oh hello, Naruto darling. It's been so long since I heard your sweet voice," said Mettaton happily. "I see, so how's life in Hollywood?" "Quite extravagant here in Hollywood. I've been partaking in so many shows and movies in either of my forms and my fans can't seem to get enough of me. And I have you and Alphys to thank for helping me achieve my dream of being a superstar." Naruto smiled in response. "You're quite welcome, you deserve it." He had been seeing Mettaton star in several movies, TV shows and even commercials which helped him establish a new MTT resort here in the city. "I can tell he's really glowing it up over there," Chara commented with her arms crossed as she listened to the conversation. "Anyways, I have another reason to call you besides saying hello." "What is it?" asked Naruto, wondering what Mettaton would need from him. "You see, one of the directors has expressed interest in the events that had occurred back in the underground, especially the ones with our interactions, and wishes to do a reenactment of some of them." "You mean the director wants to make a show based on what we did at the core?" asked Naruto curiously. "That's correct, darling. Of course, the idea was quite intriguing, but the thought of having other actors play your role left a bad taste in my mouth. So I thought to have you and the others play those roles instead," said Mettaton cheerfully. It goes without saying that Naruto along with Chara were surprised while Nikken looked at them in confusion. "You want Frisk, Nikken and I to star in a show with you?" "Why of course, what better way than to have the originals play those roles and maybe with little twists here. But of course, this can only happen if you're all on board with it." Naruto hummed and thought over this. "I'll need to talk it over with Frisk and the others first before making any final decisions." "Take your time, darling. No need to rush. When you have your answer, be sure to give me a call." "Alright Mettaton, talk to you later. Have a glamorous day," said Mettaton before ending the call. Entering showbiz before graduating from school, who would have thought? Chara commented. "Depends on whether the others are up for it or not, the aftermath could be either good or bad. So, I'll need to talk to them about it together," Naruto pointed out to the ghost girl, who shrugged her shoulders in response. Later that night, Naruto told his mother about Mettaton's offer when they were having dinner, and she was surprised to hear of it. Kushina was a bit on the fence about it but was willing to consider if it doesn't get in the way of his schooling, and thought to speak to Toriel about it since she would be able to help concerning it. Afterwards, Naruto went upstairs to take a bath then go to sleep. As he went into his bedroom, but there was someone already there, someone very familiar to him but not the others. "Player, what are you doing here?" asked Naruto confusedly. The aforementioned person was currently sitting on Naruto's bed with her leg placed across the other as she smiled at him. "Hello Naruto, long time no see. Looks like you've been busy since we last spoke." "You can say that. Is there something the matter?" "Oh yes, I came here to talk about something that had caught my interest." "About what?" "About her, of course." Player looked straight at Chara, who floated behind Naruto in discomfort. "Knowing who she is and what she's capable of, it's something I can't exactly ignore." Naruto and Chara stared at Player, with the former feeling rather unsure about this predicament after hearing what she said. Chara was just as confused and sought to inquire from the blonde. "Naruto, do you know who she is?" "Yeah, she's Player, a hacker who brought me into your timeline when you started the genocide route for the third time." "Wait, you mean to say that she was the one who took you to the other me's timeline?" Naruto nodded to Chara's question. "I see, but then why is she called Player? That can't be her actual name, can it?" "I don't understand either. I asked for her real name and that's what she calls herself." Naruto shrugged his shoulders before turning to Player. "I guess you're here because you found out about Chara being here instead of her own timeline." Player nodded in affirmation, yes, which is why I came to talk to you about it. How exactly did she find her way into your timeline and why does she feel so different? Naruto rubbed the back of his head sheepishly, not knowing how to explain all this. It's kinda complicated and might take a while to explain. But how did you find out? Ever since you helped put a stop to the genocide runs, I've been observing the timeline for some time to see any changes. After the true reset was made and I dropped you back home, Frisk did a true pacifist run as she was able to save monster kind from being trapped in the barrier and even managed to revive us real with help from the 6 fallen souls by forming a new soul for him. From there, they're finally living up on the surface with Frisk being adopted into the Dreamer family and she never once used the power of reset, Player explained. Naruto smiled, feeling proud that Frisk followed his advice on how to help everyone and kept her promise to him. He wished that there was some way he could see her again to congratulate her, but there's nothing he can do about it right now. Chara smiled at Frisk's achievement but also felt guilty about what she did to impede that. She turned away in shame, which Player didn't fail to notice. Anyways, I had also noticed an oddity in the timeline's code, and that was the complete absence of Chara, as if she doesn't exist in it. So, I decided to visit your timeline and was surprised when I checked its code and learnt that you already have a Chara in your world but is no longer part of it, rather that the Chara from the other timeline is now a part of it. What exactly happened to cause these changes? Both Naruto and Chara were shocked to hear about this piece of information, as they never knew that the latter residing in the former's timeline would cause such changes, especially when the two Charas fused together into one new being. Naruto ruffled his hair. Well, it's complicated like I said before, and it will take a while for me to explain if you're not in a hurry. Player shrugged her shoulders. I've got all the time I need. Nodding in affirmation, Naruto sat on his chair with Chara floating behind him as he began to explain. He spoke of how he came to discover that Chara had tethered herself to his soul when he had successfully purged her of the hate before the true reset. He wasn't aware of her presence until returning to his timeline. She was weakened at the time before finally revealing herself to him, and both came to an agreement that she doesn't cause any trouble for him and the others. Since then, Chara has been living peacefully with everyone as they were aware of her presence, and she's also working hard to make up for the sins she had committed in her former timeline. It was only today that he learnt that she encountered his timeline's Chara, who had been tormenting Frisk with nightmares in order to take over her body and obtain the power of reset so that she can commit genocide. She put a stop to that and both came to an accord, which led to the fusion into one being as they wished to redeem themselves for the things they had done, hence the flower crown that Chara wears being a sign of their redemption. Player, who had been listening to all this, was quite shocked. I see, this is quite fascinating. I suppose that would explain just about everything. I never would have thought it possible for a Chara to fuse with another to form a new entity. This certainly changes things for me. Naruto blinked in confusion. What do you mean by that? Originally, I was intending to return Chara to her former timeline. But she's fused herself with another Chara to atone for the sins the both of them committed. There's really no point in doing that since she's now part of your timeline as the new Chara now. Plus, if I were to still bring her back to her original timeline, I take it that the both of you wouldn't like that. Am I right? Seeing Naruto frown and Chara grip his shoulders from behind him was enough to tell Player of their thoughts about that. Guess with all of my questions answered, I won't be bringing Chara back to the other timeline, so long as she continues to not cause any problems for you and the others. Hearing this, Naruto smiled while Chara sighed in relief, as she really doesn't want to go back since she caused so much pain when she was there and seriously doubts that Frisk would be happy with her return. Naruto was thinking about something when he came up with an idea and spoke to Player. Hey Player, now that you're here, I want to ask you something. What is it? Is it possible for you to create a body? The hacker quirked an eyebrow, feeling rather confused at the question. For what reason are you asking me that? You see, the thing is that I want Chara to have a body again so that she can be a part of us, and I want her to truly reunite with the Dreamer family, especially Israel. Even though she's a part of my world, I feel she's still excluded since she isn't alive without a body, and she needs to possess my body in order to interact with them, or that I need to cast a spell for everyone to see her ghostly form. So, I'd really appreciate it if you could create a new body as a vessel for Chara. This way she can really be a part of us, Naruto explained, Chara was shocked to hear this and didn't know what to say. Player crossed her arms and frowned in thought, well, I never actually created a new body before. Although I have copied Chara's code before to make an exact replica of her original body as a new vessel in an alternate timeline, but making a whole new body is something new to me. Naruto was saddened to hear that. I see, so I guess you can't do it. While creating a physical body is a new concept to me, but I think it's well within my capabilities. I'm a hacker for a good reason, so I should be able to create a new vessel for Chara. Naruto and Chara perked up at that, with the former inquiring further, does that mean you can do it? Player smiled, yeah, I'll see what I can do about it. Thanks player, this could really mean a lot to Chara. Right? Naruto turned to Chara, who nodded meekly in agreement. Why yes. Please. Player nodded, alright then, I'll start working on a way on how to create a vessel for Chara, but I'm gonna need her to come with me for this. Both Naruto and Chara were confused upon hearing this, with the former asking, why? Well, if I'm gonna make her a new body, I'm gonna need her to come along, since I need to take her compatibility with the vessel into account. Plus, I need her code so I can implement it into the body which I'll be creating to match perfectly. I can't afford to make any errors for this, player explained to them. She saw the unsure expression on Naruto's face and assured him, don't worry, I promise she'll be fine with me. You have my word. Naruto gave it some thought and turned to Chara, what do you think, Chara? Are you okay with it? Chara thought for a moment, then nodded in affirmation. If it means getting myself a new body, then I'll do whatever it takes to get. Seeing that she has made up her mind, Naruto turned back to player, okay then, we'll do it. But how long will it take? Well, I've never created a body before besides copying it from its source code, but I should be able to have it done in a few days or a week at most. That's the estimate I can give, said player. Okay then, Naruto glanced over his shoulder, go with her, Chara. Oh okay, Chara floated over to player and tethered herself to the hacker. Your soul is weird. I feel a lot of hate and LV within you. Naruto frowned at this. Is she going to be okay with your soul having both the hate and LV in large amounts? It won't affect her negatively, would it? It won't, as long as I don't let it. Okay then, you two be careful and try to avoid any trouble. Player grinned widely as she summoned a portal and was about to step through it. We won't. Then she thought, I just hope that I don't run into that glitching skeleton. He's been hunting me down ever since he learnt that I'm a hacker. After seeing them leave, Naruto plopped himself on his bed with a sigh and felt a bit lonely now that Chara isn't with right now. He felt Nikken jump onto his bed and pawed at his stomach while whining softly. He raised a hand to gently pet the wolf pup with a soft smile. Don't worry buddy, we'll see them again. Just gotta wait until player's done with Chara's new body, said Naruto assuredly. Now I've gotta come up with an explanation to everyone about Chara's absence for the time being. Things have been as normal as can be since Chara left with player. For Naruto, he was dealing with school along with his friends while minding his own business. Unfortunately, he has been dealing with a certain someone who can't seem to leave him alone in peace, and happens to be none other than the school bully Suzy. Ever since he stood up to her when everyone else were too afraid to do so when she tried to bully Frisk, Suzy has been making it a point to torment him in any way she can, like kicking the back of his chair, throwing crumpled ball of paper at him, or calling him. It doesn't stop there, as she would go as far as getting in his way in the hallway, bumping into him on purpose, and even denting his locker while scribbling the word loser all over it. It goes without saying that Naruto was losing his patience and trying his best to control his temper, since he knows full well that Suzy is trying to bait him into doing something that will likely get him into trouble with the administration. Frisk and the others were worried for his safety, especially Red, but he would assure them that he'll be okay and would do something should Suzy step over the line. While he's annoyed at the bully's childish behavior and trying to get a rise out of him, he won't let it get to him. However, there's a reason why a limit exists, and he was about to reach it. It was during a short break PRD. Naruto was walking down the hallway while minding his own business, since there's no one around in the meantime. Then suddenly, out of nowhere, he was grabbed and shoved to the wall while a hand slammed near the left side of his head. Turns out that it was Suzy who decided that now is the time to express her demps and intimidation over him. Well. Look what I have here, a loser all by his lonesome with no one around to save him, how convenient, said Suzy with a smug tone. Time to square up, punk. Naruto glared at the school bully, clearly irritated that Suzy is at it yet again and pushing it real far this time. What the heck do you want? I'm not in the mood for this right now, so I'm gonna have to ask you to let me go and leave me alone. Suzy laughed in response. You think I'm gonna listen to you just because you say so? I don't think so. Why would I care if you're not in the mood? Doesn't matter to me. I'm not kidding around and not in the mood for this. So I say again, let me go. Suzy scowled, seeing how Naruto remained completely unafraid of her. Do I look like I care about what mood you're in? I'm getting sick of your calm attitude and ignorance. You think you're better than me? Is that it, Blondie? Naruto didn't say anything, but his fists were clenched tightly, showing just how angry he's getting. Got nothing to say, huh? How about I give you a little reminder that I've shown you before? Suzy grabbed Naruto by the collar. That quiet people pss me off, then lifted him into the air with his feet dangling. And to pay you back for humiliating me in front of everyone, I'm gonna bite your face off. She opens her mouth, revealing her sharp teeth as she pulls Naruto towards them, showing that she wasn't messing around this time. Snap. The limit has been reached. His anger can no longer be contained. Naruto was clearly enraged, as shown by his left eye glowing with a fiery white aura. Suzy was startled to see this, as she had seen him do it before when he stopped her from hurting Frisk, but she was even more shocked when he grabbed her hand and began to squeeze it tightly. She let go of his collar and tried to pull away, but Naruto refused to let go and continued to grip her hand tightly. Naruto spoke in a cold tone. I warned you not once but twice and yet you chose not to listen. There's only so much I can take and this is the last straw. He began to apply pressure in his grip to her hand, making Suzy cry out in pain as she tried to break free but was shocked to see that she couldn't. You just don't know when to stop and realize that enough is enough. Let go of me, you bstrd. Suzy cried out but yelped in pain when Naruto squeezed tighter, forcing her down to her knees. Harassing me, tormenting me, vandalizing my stuff, and now you're trying to bite my face off? Are you freaking kidding me right now? Naruto glared at the school bully. Suzy tried to punch him with her other hand in an attempt to make him let her go, only for him to catch her fist, which hardly any effort. It's about time that you knock it off before I make you. Do you seriously think that I'd be scared of a school bully when I've faced scarier people who actually tried to do more than give me a black eye? They're much bigger threats to me than you ever would be. Suzy was angry at the insult but also scared. She had never been in a situation like this before. Naruto continued to speak angrily. So I'm gonna tell you this once and you better listen if you know what's good for you. You're going to stop bullying me, leave me in peace and mind your own business. Do that and I'll pretend that this conversation never happened. Refuse, and well, to quote a certain someone, Naruto leaned forward to look into Suzy's eyes. You're gonna have a bad time. Do I make myself clear? Exclamation point. Suzy felt a mixture of pain, rage and fear all at once. I said, do I make myself clear? Naruto squeezed both hands tightly to make sure his point got across. Suzy nodded rapidly, fighting off the pain. Alright, I'll leave you alone, you crazy loon. Naruto slowly released his hold and watched Suzy, who was nursing her pained hands. Good, you'd better keep it in mind, for your own sake, cause this is your only warning. He turned and walked away, now feeling relaxed with all that built-up anger having been released since he finally got to vent. Unbeknownst to him, Suzy was glaring at his back with pure rage. DMNUBSTRD. Don't think this is over between us. Mark my words, you are dead. When the break was finally over, Naruto rejoined with the others as they head to Alphys' class and waited for her to arrive. They were all seated and Red noticed that Naruto appeared to be much happier than usual, which piqued her curiosity. What's got you in such a good mood, Naruto? Did something happen during the break? Asked Red curiously. That also got the attention of Asriel, Frisk, MK and even Noel. Naruto turned to reply with a smile. Yes, you could say that. I had an unlucky run-in with Suzy in the hallway when no one was around. Hearing this shocked everyone and Red was angered at Suzy for going too far this time. He noticed and quickly calmed them down. Relax, you guys. I took care of the problem and made sure that she doesn't bother me again. Really? How did you get her to stop bothering you? Asked this real. Naruto shrugged his shoulders, nothing much, just grabbed one of her brawny hands and squeezed it tightly enough to get my point across to her. Really? Asked Frisk, who was shocked with the same going for the others. Didn't have much of a choice considering that she tried to bite my face off and wasn't kidding about. I tried to be the better person and not fight her, but she kept pushing my buttons and I finally had enough. MK was in awe. Whoa dude, that's so awesome. I bet Susie won't bug you anymore. Here's hoping for that. I'm just glad that no one got hurt, said Noelle, feeling relieved. Birdly, who had been overhearing the conversation, scoffed, you have no idea the kind of trouble you have brought upon yourself, Uzumaki. Fighting back has only placed you in her hit list, which is no different than signing your own death warrant. Now that she's going to do everything in her power to make the remainder of your days very unpleasant. Anyways, Alphys finally arrived at her classroom as she can see the students are waiting for her except for Susie, who isn't present at the moment. Hello class, I wish to announce to you all that we'll be doing group projects whereby 2 students will work together on a project, said Alphys. But what is the subject for us to work on? Asked this real curiously. I'll tell you all about it once I've assigned the teams, and they're as follows. Alphys took out a sheet of paper and began calling out the names. Catty Jockington. Temmie Snowy. Noelle Birdly. Red Monster Kid. Friskus Real. But then everyone noticed something about the assignments. Each of them has gotten partners except for Naruto, who hasn't gotten one yet, with the same going for another person. Then it means that the person whom Naruto is going to partner up with is none other than. Bang! The door suddenly slammed open, startling everyone, and standing in the doorway is. Hello Susie, said Alphys timidly. Susie stepped inside the classroom. Am I late? Not at all, we've just started classes and are choosing partners for group projects this month. And Susie, you'll be with Naruto this month, said Alphys. Everyone couldn't believe what they've just heard. Naruto is going to be partners with Susie for the group project. Every single student in the school knows that those two are at war with each other. This is nothing short of a disaster. On the outside, Susie simply stood there emotionlessly, and it didn't help that the bangs of her hair are covering her eyes. However, on the inside she was seething with so much rage at the fact that she's forced to get paired up with the loser who humiliated her. In short, she was pissed. In spite of her displeasure, she reined in her rage mentally and muttered lowly, great, as if she's completely fine with this, which didn't sit well with Naruto. The blonde himself doesn't like the idea of him now being stuck with someone like Susie, as he knows all too well that she hates the idea of being partners with him and definitely won't cooperate. As much as he hates this and wants to PND his head onto his desk repeatedly, he'll just have to deal with it and hope she doesn't do anything stupid to disrupt his work. Naruto could also see that his friends don't like the idea of him being paired up with Susie, as they're aware of her having a personal vendetta against him. They all silently gave him a look of pity and apology, which doesn't exactly help his case regardless. Red looked like she is about to object this, but chose to remain silent since she seriously doubts that anyone would want to get partnered up with Susie, and Naruto has been unfortunate enough to get paired up with her. Sigh, as if my day can't get any worse. Which side of the bed did I wake up from this morning? Naruto glanced to see Alphys silently apologizing to him, making him sigh again. Alphys spoke up, and now that everyone's here, I'll hand out the assignments. She went over to the chalkboard and prepared right on it, but then she noticed that something was missing again. Has anyone seen the chalk? This is like the 4th time this has happened. Gee, I wonder where it could have gone, thought Naruto sarcastically, glancing at the immobile Susie. I can't start the class without any chalk. Alphys turned to Susie. Susie, see, could you please run over to the supply closet and fetch some chalk for me? Whatever. Susie turned around and left the classroom, but not after slamming the door behind her and causing everyone to flinch in reaction. Naruto, could you follow after her to make sure that she gets the chalk and also stays out of trouble? Alphys requested apologetically. But Miss Alphys. Red tried to protest against this. It's okay, Red. Naruto quickly stopped her as she rose from his seat. I can handle this, don't worry. Okay. Naruto left the classroom as well and didn't have to look far for Suzy as she's currently punching a random locker, clearly showing how angry she is at being paired up with Naruto. He then made himself known to her. You know, getting angry and punching someone's locker isn't gonna make it any better. Suzy looked back to see Naruto, who she despises, and growled, great, just what I need. What do you want? Naruto rolled his eyes at her attitude. It's not what I want, it's more of what Alphys wants. She'd asked me to make sure you're getting the chalk while also getting some stuff for the project she'll be discussing about. Look Suzy, I don't like this any more than you do. The mere thought of being partnered up with you just makes me wanna hurl, but this is only temporary. It's just for this project, and once that's done, this'll never happen again. We're not gonna be all buddy-buddy by the end of this. The only reason I'm telling you this is because you need to cooperate with me to get this over with. So whether you like it or not, neither of us has a choice in this matter. Suzy just listened to him, wanting nothing more than to pummel him into next week and rip off his face in the process, but recalls the warning he gave and being unafraid of her, which only infuriates her even more. She just growled and punched the dented locker once more. Alright, fine. Let's just get this over with. We'll get more chalk. Grab some stuff for the project. Mosey on back to class. And then, Naruto, you'll do our project. How's that sound? Naruto didn't like this and was about to refuse, but Suzy cut him off. You know what, don't bother answering. If you haven't gotten it by now, your choices don't matter to me. Suzy walked forward while saying, let's go, freak. With that she walked away, unaware Naruto was glaring at Suzy's retreating form as his left eye was glowing with a white aura like a flickering flame, gripping his fist tightly in pure rage from what she said. However, getting angry isn't gonna fix anything, so he calmed himself down while turning off his glowing flickering left eye and quickly followed after Suzy. Gee, can you walk any slower, or is it that you're not used to walking around without anyone holding your hand like a toddler? Naruto retorted, need I remind you of the last time you held my hand? I doubt you want to recall that unpleasant experience. Growling. If you're done being a total JRK towards me and wasting time, let's get the chalk and the stuff for the project without any further delay. Fuming, Suzy just turned around. TSK whatever. Come on, freak. As they walked together, the duo finally reached the supply closet. Suzy then commented, well, here's the closet. Too bad we were just starting to have fun. Naruto rolled his eyes in response. Your definition of fun, which is of you trying to make fun of me, isn't exactly appealing. Before Suzy could say something, the supply closet door suddenly swung open by itself, and strangely enough, the interior of the closet looks pitch black in there. Nothing but pure darkness. And as if the strangeness hasn't ended for the two, light started to darken from the hallways around them as the supply closet ominously glowed, showing the only light from within the darkness. Both Naruto and Suzy took a step back as they aren't sure what's going on when everything just got suddenly dark. Hey, Naruto, is it me or is it really dark in there? Asked Suzy, who was trying and failing to keep the nervousness out of her voice. Naruto didn't say anything, for he wasn't sure what he's feeling, but for some reason, looking into the darkness of the supply closet made Naruto feel uneasy for some reason. Like it's making him uncomfortable and feel on edge just by the darkness from the closet room. It doesn't help that his own soul pulsing in alert. What's going on? This is so strange. Why did everything suddenly get darker? This has never happened before. On top of that, why does it feel like I should be wary about this? Thought Naruto while he stared at the supply closet in silence and gathering his thoughts. Suzy realized Naruto hasn't said anything or made a move, which made her feel even more nervous, and tried to play it off. What's the holdup, Naruto? Are you gonna go in or what? But Naruto took a step back, his instincts telling him this isn't normal, and whatever is causing the darkness around them being the source of it, the supply closet. Seeing that Naruto isn't stepping forward into the supply closet, Suzy put on a brave face nervously and angrily and said, fine. If you're gonna be a wimp, then I'll. She stopped at mid-sentence as she too didn't want to go inside, but nonetheless she said, we'll both go in at the same time. Naruto frowned and thought, we really shouldn't be going inside, since it's too abnormal. Then again, what kind of excuse would we have if we told Alphys and the others about this? Sai might as well get it over with. Both of them took a deep breath as they sucked up their initial fear, then went inside the supply closet. Upon entry, the duo noted how the room was dark and the only light being provided to them to see was the outside of the closet where they came in, and the only thing they can see is scattered paper on the ground. Seeing that there's nothing here, Suzy spoke with regained confidence. See? Why are you so scared? There's nothing in here but old papers. I guess Suzy is right, I guess there really isn't nothing in here. But why does it feel like I shouldn't have come in here, thought Naruto confusedly. Suzy continues, well, let's try to find the light swch. Sure, Naruto nodded as Suzy goes further in the darkness room, but oddly enough, there's no light swch in here, either that or they can't see through the darkness. That's weird, I can't find the swch. Guess it's further in. Naruto said, sure, if it makes this any quicker. They walked further into the room, which still there is nothing here, but that wasn't the issue though. Kind of big for a closet, huh? You'd think we'd have reached the end by now. I don't know, I don't remember the supply closet being this big enough to continue on. Something feels off, said Naruto, regretting having not learnt the luminescence spell to be able to light up the place so they could see clearly. Suzy quirked an eyebrow through her hair in response, you mean aside from the strange darkness that just suddenly occurred out of nowhere? That too. Well, the quicker we find the swch and grab the things we need, the sooner we leave this room. Naruto for the first time agreed with Suzy, which wasn't a pleasant feeling, but anything is better than being here. They continue forward through the never-ending darkness before stopping. Suzy asked worriedly, hey, Naruto. I think this closet's, broken. There aren't any walls or anything for that matter. She looked around and seeing there's nothing here, she then said, well, we've worked hard enough. If Alphys wants the chalk and the stuff for the project so bad, she can get it herself. Let's split. Now normally, Naruto wouldn't agree with her for not finding the stuff Alphys asked them to, but something about all this doesn't sit right with him, and so far it would be smart to leave this strange room as soon as possible. Naruto nodded and went the other direction with Suzy following him as the two reached the exit and was about to leave till it suddenly closed on itself, leaving them in the closet room, shocking the two to their core. What the? Suzy rushed to the closet door and banged at it with a fist while yelling, hey, this isn't funny. Let us out. Let us, but before she could continue, the ground started to shake underneath them, the floor, it's. Naruto's eyes widened in realization, oh no. The old papers began to fall underneath their feet as the two backed away, but unfortunately the moment it reached them, they immediately fell underneath them as the duo fell into the pit of darkness that awaited them. Naruto groaned as he slowly opened his eyes after losing unconscious during the fall. Ugh, my everything hurts. He then slowly got back up on his feet while still feeling sore all over his body. Perhaps he must have instinctively used the power of determination to coat his body so as to avoid any serious injuries. Man, I wasn't expecting me and Suzy were gonna fall in a deep dark hole inside a supply closet into whose knows where. But at least I'm okay for the most part. Speaking of which, where am I? He then took a good look around to see nothing but darkness and seems to be in some sort of underground cavern, which gave him a sense of déjà vu in two ways. Okay, considering the fact that I went through something like this twice, it's safe to say I'm no longer inside a supply closet anymore, much less in a school building. Also, I don't see Suzy anywhere, so it's either she woke up first and took off somewhere or we got separated during the fall. Great, looks like I'm gonna have to go look for her and then work on finding a way. Oh Yuha. Naruto didn't finish his sentence as he took notice of his sudden change of outfit that he's currently wearing. Instead of his normal clothes he was supposed to be wearing, he's suddenly wearing something that what looked to be what a samurai wears during the Edo PRD, as he's looking at his arms, chest, and legs, which are sporting armor on them while having a short red sleeveless haori over them. Another thing to notice would be the sheathed sword strapped to his waist via a red sash. Naruto drew the sword from its black scabbard. He also took notice he has a weapon with him which appears to be a bona fide reverse blade, which surprised him. Wow, talk about a wardrobe change. I never thought I would look like a samurai, much less of me carrying a real Sakamoto sword with me. But that's not the only change. Naruto used the blade as a makeshift mirror and saw that his skin color has changed to that of blue, and also his blonde hair has changed into pure red hair while still retaining blonde streaks. Wow, I have red hair. I guess I take after my mother's side now while still retaining some of my blonde hair from my father's side, at least I still have that. Returning the sword to its sheath, Naruto decided to move on and find Suzy while also searching for a way back. As he followed the stony path before him, Naruto noticed a silver star glowing which reminded him of the save point, so he approached to touch it, which caused a message window to appear before him. At times, you see it flickering. The light only you can see. By second nature, you reach out and save. Yes/no. Naruto raised his eyebrow at this text as he thought, no, I'm filled with determination part in this text. Strange, but it's probably just this. But I am curious about its location, as it's just. Seems like this place might be too unknown to identify. Not wanting to give himself a headache since he just found himself there, Naruto confirmed his save but noted that it didn't overwrite his other save file but rather made a new one. Could it be that he's in yet another timeline? In that case, he definitely needs to find Suzy and make sure she's okay in case this timeline is going through a genocide run, no matter how much they dislike each other. As he traverses through a long pathway that leads east, Naruto came across what appears to be strange, wobbly things that would emit a sound and wiggle every time he walks past them. At the end of the path, there are walls depicting eyes and holes leaking black liquid which creep him out a bit. However, he did notice something though, as he could have sworn he saw some sort of black shadow moving really fast away from view. Naruto gets the feeling he wasn't alone, like there's someone here watching him. Nonetheless, he didn't let that get to him yet. Getting back on track, Naruto slides down a gravely slope to a lower area where he comes across a branching path. Naruto went down the south path which leads to a dead end. Looks like it's a dead end. Guess I'll double back and take the other path. Naruto was about to leave but then noticed something glowing inside a hole. Naruto approached it and a text suddenly popped up. There's something glowing inside. Take it? Yes/no. Naruto went with yes and took it, which identified to be a glows hard. Naruto went to check his stats to see this glows hard but he can't seem to find it, like it magically disappeared. Well, that was a waste of my time. Guess I'll get back to where I was originally intending to go. He went back to the branching path and chose the east path, which has a wall depicting two eyes with black liquid leaking underneath. From there, he found more wobbly things. However, his soul suddenly appears which immediately alerted him that something harmful is about to attack. It was at that moment that the supposedly harmless wobbly things began launching magic bullets at him. Fortunately, Naruto has both training and battle experience to be able to evade the incoming projectiles as he quickly made his way to the other side. Naruto found another save point and accessed it to have a text appear to him. You bathed your body in the light. A power shines within you, breaking through the darkness. Any pain you may have had melted away, HP fully restored. Save. Yes/no. There it is again. No, I'm filled with determination from this text. In fact, now it's mentioning about both light and darkness. What's that all about, thought Naruto, feeling confused by this but stayed on point nonetheless. He went and confirmed his save, then noticed a sign on the wall. He then approached and read it. In this land, only eyes blinded by darkness can see the way. Naruto raised an eyebrow at this, then looked in front to see a wall depicting three eyes and under them what appeared to be glowing spots. Is this some sort of an eye puzzle, said Naruto, assuming it to be a puzzle since he needs to do something to get across. It kinda reminds him of the puzzles that he and Frisk had to solve when they first traveled through the underground, so this shouldn't be any different. Naruto checked the puzzle and it seems easy enough, as he first started off with the middle eye to activate, which caused both two eyes to close, and lastly went towards the eye on the far right, which closed after activation. Doing this caused a glass-like bridge to appear and fill the gap that he can go across to the other side and continue on his way. Naruto then comes across another cliff which he immediately slides down at the bottom where he enters an area filled with the puffy mound entities. Man, just where on earth is Suzy? Surely she shouldn't be that far and has to be around here somewhere. Naruto then noticed the shadowy figure from before and it seems to be hiding from him. Looks like someone's nearby and whoever it is, it's hiding within the weird-looking puffy mound things. Then he checked them out by blowing on the puffy mound which revealed nothing was there. Naruto did the same with the other that resulted in the same thing, followed by another, and he finally came across the last one which he was sure that someone was in there. Naruto stopped before the puffy mound and blew on it to reveal the person which happens to be Suzy he finally found while looking a bit on edge and has also undergone a change in appearance. Suzy's skin and hair colors have changed to lavender pink and plum respectively. Her clothes are replaced with a long black vest with purple trims, a sleeveless purple shirt, baggy plum pants, and black boots with golden soles. She also has 2 black bracelets with yellow spikes on each arm, and a black belt with a large golden heart buckle. Hey. Be back off. Come any closer and I'll. She then stopped as she took a closer look to recognize that it was just Naruto who found her. Naruto. Phew. Naruto just stood and watched Suzy catching her breath a bit. Wow, looks like I gave her quite the scare judging by how tense she was. Finally calm, Suzy glared at Naruto. Hey, don't scare me like that, dumbass. Unless you want to get clocked in the face, heh. Naruto rolled his eyes as he retorted, oh please, how was I supposed to know you were gonna hide in there to begin with? And even if you were to clock me in the face, I would have clocked you right back in retaliation. Suzy just growled at Naruto from his snarky attitude which irritated her but decided to just forget it for now. TCH, whatever anyway, enough screwing around. We gotta find a way outta here. She looked around, where is here anyway? Naruto shrugged, I don't know. I don't recall there being anything like this in the supply closet. We may not be at school anymore but rather somewhere else entirely. Suzy then turned to Naruto, it doesn't matter. You got us into this mess. You get us out. Naruto was surprised to hear this, then he got angry. Excuse me. Just how exactly did I get us into this mess? I never knew any of this were to happen. You cannot put the blame on me cause I have nothing to do with this. Suzy scoffed with indifference, I don't care. Your fault, your mess, therefore you fix it. End of story. Naruto was about to say something else but Suzy moved to stand behind Naruto. Lead the way, Naruto. Naruto couldn't believe what just happened. Suzy's blaming him for something he has nothing to do with and suddenly is the one to fix this mess. The nerve of that girl. Seeing that he doesn't seem to have much of a choice right now, Naruto to move on forward with Suzy following him, but it wasn't long before he heard a groan of annoyance from Suzy. Oh my god. Never mind, you walk way too slow. The current redhead turned to face her in irritation, we barely walked a few feet and you're already complaining about me walking too slow. Yeah. Should've walked fast enough. Doesn't matter, I'm going up ahead, and just like that, Suzy took off ahead leaving Naruto behind. Naruto just couldn't believe his luck right now from this situation he find himself in. He just took a deep breath to calm himself and maintain control over his temper which is already rising before following after her. Naruto come across a cliff which he slid down and not long he found Suzy who's looking upward at a tall wall with a lone eye. Naruto approached her which she took notice of his arrival. Hey, Naruto. There's someone up there waving at us. Any idea what they want? Naruto raised any eyebrow at this and looked up to where she's looking and sure enough, there is someone up there on top of the wall. However he can't see or tell who or what it is as it's too dark to make out of the silhouette figure. No, I can't tell who or what that is. It's too dark to make out, but it kinda looks like their dash. Before Naruto could finish his sentence, the silhouette figure raised their hand and out of nowhere, 2 white spades appeared and was launched towards the duo which they barely dodged in time since they weren't expecting to be attacked without warning. Suzy was clearly rattled as she yelled at Naruto, run, Naruto. She immediately bolted which Naruto did the same while his soul became visible from within him. He swiftly darted from side to side, avoiding the literal shower of white spades launched in his direction, instinctively dodging the spade attacks from above. He reached the end where Suzy was waiting. She beckoned him by pointing at the sloped cliffside as their best way to escape. "Naruto, down here." Suzy immediately slid down the cliff, which Naruto followed suit, and like before, his soul reacted again as more spade attacks was firing at him from both sides as he came across those wobbly things. He couldn't tell if those attacks are coming from the darkness itself or those wobbly things are firing at him. Scutum. Naruto outstretched his hands on both sides and a pair of magic glyphs appeared, which then conjured two night shields that hovered at both sides and blocked the incoming projectiles, allowing him move breathing room and slide down more safely. Soon enough he reached the end of the cliff after entering the light that was shining in front of him. Getting up after reaching the end of the cliff, Naruto looked to see a path to the east, which he follows and finds Suzy looking into the far distance. Suzy sees him coming towards her. "Oh, you're not dead." "Sweet." Naruto quirked an eyebrow at this, not knowing whether to view her comment as a compliment or an insult. But then he decided to ignore it since there are more important things to focus on right now. "So got any idea what the heck this place is?" He looked ahead what appears to be a kingdom and a castle from afar, but other than that, it's surprising to see all this down here. "No, I'm afraid I don't have the slightest clue of what this place is." "Yeah, me neither. Wonder if there's anyone in that building up there." "Then why don't we go there and find out? I mean, somebody has to be around here. If there is someone that's living down here, maybe they might know an exit that will take us back home." Naruto went on ahead to enter this strange kingdom with Suzy following after him. Naruto sees a save point in the middle of the clearing, which he went to access. In front of you, a castle looms beneath the empty town. A black geyser emerges from it, piercing endlessly into the sky. The power of this place shines within you. Save. Yes/no. After Naruto press yes to save where he's at, he gets a name from this place through his save file. So this place is called Castle Town, At least we now know where we are at the moment. "Hey, what are you doing?" Suzy asked Naruto from behind, wondering why he suddenly stopped and was staring off into space. Nothing, I'm just taking up the view of this place." Naruto knew Suzy couldn't see what he was really doing, and she can't see the save points, which can only be visible to those with souls of determination. Suzy just stared at him and just waved it off without a care. Whatever, she just doesn't care since her only concern is to leave this strange place. Naruto already did what he needed to do and simply head on towards the castle with Suzy following with him. As they arrived at the castle, Suzy looked at the building. "A castle? Why the hell is there a castle inside a supply closet?" Naruto shrugged, said, "I'm in the same boat as you, still trying to figure out where we ended up at." "Welcome, heroes." Suddenly both Naruto and Suzy heard a female voice out of nowhere which placed them on edge. "Who's there?" Suzy demanded. "Do not be alarmed, I am not your enemy. Please come forward, both of you." Both Naruto and Suzy did as the voice asked by stepping forward until they stood in front of what appears to be a Delta rune emblem in the middle, and in front are the castle doors. However, what got them focused mostly is the mysterious hooded figure waiting for them, who then spoke to them. "Welcome. I am the princess of this kingdom, the Kingdom of Darkness. Naruto, Suzy, there is a legend in this land. A legend that one day, two heroes of light will arrive, and fulfill the ancient prophecy, foretold by time and space. Please, heroes, listen to my tale." Naruto wasn't sure about what's going on, especially since he has so many questions. First being, how does this stranger know our names? Second, why did this hooded figure call both him and Suzy heroes? Third, what does this stranger mean about this place being called the Kingdom of Darkness and she calling herself the princess of this kingdom? Lastly, what legend is she talking about? He's obviously confused about the whole thing and a bit unsure whether to trust this unknown person or not. After weighing his options, he decided to listen to this prophecy of hers out of curiosity and also attain the necessary information. "Alright, we'll listen to this tale of yours." Of course, Suzy objected the idea. "Hold on a second, I didn't agree to this. Why should I listen to this weirdo? Because Susie, I'm a bit curious about this legend of hers. Plus I wanna know why she called us heroes that involves this prophecy. Not to mention she somehow knows our names when we've never been here and met her. You can't tell me you're not at least bit curious. I'm not interested in hearing some nonsense from this weirdo. I'm more interested in finding a way out like we're supposed to do, Susie scoffed. Susie, we don't know where we are and we don't know where to go. How can we possibly find an exit if we don't know where we ended up in? It's best we just hear the stranger out. Maybe it might involve an exit somewhere but we won't know unless we hear her out first. Susie wanted to refuse but couldn't since Naruto had a good point which grated on her nerves that she agreed with him. After a few minutes, Susie groaned, Fine. I'll listen if it means getting us out of here faster. Naruto just sighed at this as to why she's gotta make this difficult for him, then he turned towards the hooded figure. Alright, please tell us about this prophecy of yours. The hooded stranger nodded in affirmation. Very well then. Once upon a time, a legend was whispered among shadows. It was a legend of hope. It was a legend of dreams. It was a legend of light. It was a legend of dark. This is the legend of Deltarune. For millennia, light and dark have lived in balance, bringing peace to the world. But if this harmony were to shatter, a terrible calamity would occur. The sky will run black with terror and the land will crack with fear. Then, her heart pounding the earth will draw her final breath. Only then, shining with hope, 3 heroes appear at world's edge. A human, a monster, and a princess from the dark. Only they can seal the fountains and banish the angels' heaven. Only then will balance be restored, and the world saved from destruction. Today, the fountain of darkness, the geyser that gives this land form, stands tall at the center of the kingdom. But recently, another fountain has appeared on the horizon, and with it, the balance of light and dark begins to shift. After the stranger finishes her tale, Naruto found himself at a loss. To him, this prophecy sounds very similar to the story between humans and monsters, but this version is between light and dark. Let's not forget about her speaking of the Deltarune, which he and his friends are aware of the emblem, but hearing about its legend is quite interesting. Naruto silently glances at Susie, wondering what she thinks, though he can't tell what she's thinking with her hair covering her eyes, but something tells him she probably doesn't believe it, which is unbelievable yet understandable. But Naruto didn't sense any lies, so what the mysterious hooded figure told is the truth. Naruto snapped back into focus as the stranger spoke softly in a pleading tone. Naruto, Susie, thank you for listening to my long tale. I deeply believe you two are the heroes of the legend. That despite whatever enemies you may face, you two have the courage to save the world. Delta warriors. Please, won't you accept your destiny? Naruto wasn't sure what to do about this situation, because this is a lot to take in after what they've heard and the fact that him and Susie are the heroes destined to save this world. Naruto was in thought about this, as he'd rather find a way out of here, but hearing about this story, he can't find it in himself to simply turn a blind eye. Plus this isn't the first time he's done it since back in the underground and when he went to the genocide timeline and helped correct things there. After making up his mind, Naruto was about to answer the stranger's request, however Susie beat him to it with her own answer, nah. Of course, Naruto expected this kind of response from her, but the stranger did not, though, as she was taken aback by this. What? Susie explains her reason. Me? Some kind of hero or something? You've got the wrong person. I'm not into something so lame. If it's a hero you're looking for, it's this nerd over here. She points her thumb at Naruto, who stared at her unimpressed. The stranger looked a bit frantic as she tried to convince her to think otherwise. But Susie, without you, the world will. However, Susie doesn't seem to care. So what? If the world gets destroyed, it's none of my DMN business. Might even be kind of fun, honestly. The hooded figure didn't say a word since she was just in shock. That Susie would refuse her destiny to become a hero of this world, but instead willing to let it get destroyed. She wasn't sure how to respond to this situation. Naruto honestly wasn't all that surprised that Susie would refuse, as he knew she was anything but a hero, which is an understatement, but the fact she would let this place get destroyed without a care while finding it fun to see it happen is just what he expected out of a bully like Suzy. Speaking of which, Suzy turned to Naruto as she said, "Anyway, Naruto, if you wanna play pretend with this weirdo, stick around. I'm going to find a way out of here." After saying her piece, she was about to walk away out of here to go find an exit while Naruto just watches her leave without a care. The stranger however attempts to stop Suzy from walking away by calling her out, "Suzy, wait." Just then, they all heard a laugh and out of nowhere, the stranger was then blown away by explosion from the arrival of a spade-like monster who's riding a bicycle with a motor attached to it, which fire is coming out of it, making it look like a motorcycle that crashed into the hooded figure, sending her flying. The spade monster spoke, "Ho ho ho. The heroes are already running away and they didn't even know I was here. My dad's gonna make me son of the month." Suzy turned to the spade monster and demanded, "Who the heck are you?" The spade monster grinned as he introduced himself, "I'm." Then he spins around in his bike, "The bad guy. You clowns want to seal our dark fountain, huh? And, still picturing you guys as clowns, save the world from eternal darkness, huh?" Suzy simply shrugged her shoulders. The spade monster continued, "Don't try to deny it. We both know you'll go east. It's your only way home. But, I, Lancer, won't let you go there. And I've got a flawless two-step plan to ensure it. Step 1. I thrash you. Step 2. You lose." The now named Lancer finished explaining his plan to the duo. "What's with this guy?" thought Naruto confusedly. Suzy began to smile, "Nice plan, kid." "Ah, really?" Lancer wasn't expecting to be complimented by his supposed enemies. Suzy then grinned with her fangs being visible, which made Naruto know what she could possibly be thinking right now. "Yeah, actually mind if we use your plan on you instead." A savage expression appeared on her face as well as an axe appearing in her hands, which surprised Naruto, but he snapped back into focus and unsheathed his sakubato in preparation for their battle against Lancer. Lancer busts in. Suddenly, Naruto felt the familiar sensation of something flowing through his mind, as if asking, "What will you do? Fight, act, item, spare, defend?" These choices are mostly familiar, albeit with new additions such as an empty vertical gauge with the word TP 0% above them. "Okay, I don't know exactly how things in this world works, but I just need to make this guy back off," thought Naruto. He glanced to see Suzy look at the axe in her hands with growing interest, but I seriously doubt she feels the same way. "I don't know how I got an axe, but, like, that's cool," said Suzy with a wide grin. Then she glanced at the weapon in Naruto's hand, "But that's a weird-looking katana you have there, like, why's the sharp edge on the wrong side?" "It's not a katana but a sakubato, or in English term the reverse sword, and it suits me just fine." Suzy shrugged, Whatever, looks like a katana to me." Lancer suddenly spoke up, "Halt, clowns. This bike is fueled by victory." He excitedly picks a target to attack, which turned out to be Naruto, as he honks his bike horn before zooming towards him whilst performing a wheelie. Naruto darted out of the way to avoid a collision, but then he notices that the TP gauge had gone up a bit by 5%. Seems like dodging attacks at the last minute fills up the TP gauge, but I still don't know what use it has. Naruto chose to act and use check to find out more about Lancer. Lancer, ATK, 7DF, 1. Not to call a spade, but he's a spade. Not old enough to ride a motorcycle, so he set his bike on fire. Now that I think about it, it looks more like he simply taped a bottle rocket to the rear wheel, thought Naruto. All that aside, I'm gonna have to dash. Without any warning, Suzy suddenly rushed forward and swung her axe, which struck Lancer, surprising Naruto. "Suzy, pull back on your attacks," Naruto called out. "Why should I? He's an enemy and trying to thrash us, it's only right that I do the same," Suzy retorted. At that point, Lancer has recovered from the attack. "Oh. You make my feelings do wheelies." Sweet wheelies. Once again he does a wheelie attack, but with Suzy as his target this time. She quickly jumped out of the way, barely avoiding getting hit. Then she retaliated with a swing of her axe, striking him again when she saw the opportunity to attack the bike-riding boy. did you not realize I can mask my self-esteem levels? Lancer revs viciously. Naruto frowned at what's going on, with Suzy ignoring me and doing whatever she wants. She's more of a threat to everyone else instead of the other way around. I guess the best option is this. He went to act and chose warning to quite literally warn Lancer about Suzy's tendency to attack, which made him more wary of her. That was proven to be true when she attacked with her axe, but he was able to dodge it. This made Suzy glare at Naruto for what he did, which he chose to ignore. So, what are you guys doing after this? Asked Lancer curiously. None of your business. Suzy snapped at him. Lancer prepped his bike and made Naruto his target once again with a wheelie attack. Naruto evaded the incoming attack with a swift sidestep, but Lancer wasn't done yet as he rode vertically up a wall and launched spade-shaped projectiles towards him. This made Naruto realize that Lancer was the one who attacked them earlier back at the cliffs. Instinctively utilizing the gale form, Naruto gripped the Sakabato with both hands and swiftly deflected the incoming spade-shaped projectiles, which seemed to have built up a bit more of the TP gauge by 12%. Once again, Naruto gave a warning to Lancer, who laughs at the idea that he would need his help. Suzy attacks with her axe only to miss due to Lancer dodging her in spite of him supposedly not taking Naruto's words seriously. Suzy glared at Naruto menacingly. Stop helping him. Stop attacking with the intent to take him out, then I'll do so, Naruto responded. Are you brain dead or something? Did you not hear that he's trying to thrash us? I certainly did, but I seriously doubt that he'll be able to do so. What makes you think that he can? Before Suzy can reply, Lancer interrupted them. Ho ho ho. I'm the bad guy. He launched another wheelie attack at Suzy, which she jumped out of the way. Then he switched targets to Naruto, who used Endeavor to seemingly phase right through him like a ghost to evade, which actually surprised the spade-themed boy. Naruto prepared to use a magic glyph to disable Lancer when said person actually called out to him and Suzy. Wait. Wait a second. My bike's running out of fuel. Lancer looked to see that the flames at his rear wheel is dying down. Alright, you punkaroos. You had the luck of the draw this time, but next time, the losers will be you. Ha ha ha. Bye, losers. I gotta get home before dinner. Then he rode away before the duo could say anything. You won. Earned 0 XP and $35. I don't know what $D is, but I can assume that it's this world's currency, thought Naruto while sheathing the Sakabato. The hooded stranger reappeared after being knocked away by Lancer's sudden appearance and checked on Naruto and Suzy with concern in her voice. Are you two okay? Asked the stranger worriedly. Allow me to introduce myself properly. I am. Oh geez, can you take off that hood already? I can hardly hear you under there, Suzy complained. You alright. The stranger took off her hood and the rest of her cloak to reveal herself to them. She's wearing a pointed green hat covers her horns, concealing her entire face in shadow. She wears a pair of round glasses, a long pink scarf wrapped around her neck, and a long green coat with a black heart in the center. To Naruto, she looks adorable, which he couldn't stop admiring her, though he doesn't know why. Whoa, is that her true self? She's so cute, but I can't tell if that's what she looks like due to her entire face is shrouded in shadows, but I'm not complaining. I think she looks nice as that, said Naruto mentally. He snapped back to attention as the stranger introduces herself with a bright smile. Hello everyone. I'm Ralsei. Naruto, Suzy, it's ever so wonderful to meet you. I'm certain we're going to become great friends and dash. Suzy interrupted her rather rudely. Best way to leave is east, right? Ralsei nodded in affirmation. Yes. That's where we'll. Got it. Suzy turned around and began to walk away. See ya at school, Naruto, and with that, Suzy left with Ralsei and Naruto watching her go. Naruto sighed. I'll never understand what goes on in that head of hers. He's not gonna bother stopping her as it's too bothersome for it. He then hear Ralsei speaking up. I suppose it's just the two of us. Then, she walks up to Naruto with a sad smile. Naruto, I'm a princess, but I currently don't have any subjects. I've been waiting alone here my whole life for you two to arrive. Naruto felt bad for her as she's been living here all alone with nobody to talk to. She then smiles brightly at Naruto, so I'm really happy to meet you. I hope we can be good friends, Naruto. Naruto smiles as he replied, I'm looking forward to us being friends too. You can count on me to keep you company. Ralsei smiles, nodding in appreciation. Let's try to find Suzy, she must be to the southeast. She then walks behind Naruto as she said, you can lead the way, Naruto. Sure, just let me know if I'm going the right way. With Naruto now having Ralsei as his new companion, he left the castle and went back to Castle Town where the save point waited for him to access again. Ralsei, the lonely princess, is now your ally. The power of fluffy girls shines within you. Save. Yes/no. Naruto just raised an eyebrow at that weird text he received. Okay, that's just weird, but I'm just gonna ignore that and move on. He confirmed his save and moved on as he and Ralsei went the other path Suzy must have gone. As the two walks through an open area, Naruto sees a practice dummy that closely resembles Ralsei. Said person spoke up eagerly, oh, Naruto. It's the training dummy I made. Now seems like a great chance to prepare for the enemy. Would you like me to teach you how to fight? Naruto already knows how to fight and everything else, so it's really not necessary, but he took a moment to think about it, figuring that it could help him learn something that he wasn't aware of. Plus, the new battle mechanics is quite different from what he's used to, so he decided to accept Ralsei's offer. Sure, I don't mind if you teach me, said Naruto with a smile. Hearing his response made Ralsei beam with happiness. Okay. Get ready, Naruto. The tutorial battle began with Naruto unsheathing his Sakabato and taking a combat stance with his soul making itself visible. Ralsei stood at the ready and Naruto noticed that her scarf seemed to be moving as if it's alive and figured that be how she fights before refocusing himself. See that heart, Naruto? That's your soul, the culmination of your being. Within it holds your will, your compassion and the fate of the world. Ralsei explains about how his soul works. Naruto was already aware of this info due to his determination enabling him to possess the power to save and reset his timeline, so this makes sense, but he didn't know his soul now affects this dark world, which means this world's fate is on his hands. Naruto snaps focus to Ralsei as she continues her explanation. If it gets hit, you and your friends will lose HP. If everyone's HP reaches 0, we'll lose the battle. Naruto mentally winced at this information since he didn't know about this new battle feature for his soul. Yikes, so if I go down in battle then my allies go down with me? Best I keep that info in mind for future battles and not let that happen, thought Naruto, definitely keeping this in mind for the future. So, please take care to avoid the enemy's attack. Ready? Let's try dodging, said Ralsei, having finished explaining the basics and starting off her tutorial with dodging. Naruto stood ready as the dummy was firing white magic bullets at him. He swiftly stepped from side to side and at times deflect them with his sword without getting hit. Ralsei was surprised and awed to see his skills at dodging and also deflecting attacks with his sword. Great job, Naruto. You're a natural. Anyhow, after the enemy attacks, it's our turn, Naruto. First, I'll teach you how to fight. Though fighting is unnecessary in this world, there's no harm in a thorough lesson. Let's try fighting. Naruto already knows how to fight, but he'll humor her by listening to her tutorial lessons. He could tell that she had been looking forward to this moment for a long time. He took a stance and prepared his Sakabato, then he rushed forward and slashed at the dummy, which took 75 damage. Wow, Naruto. That was an amazing attack. Have you done this before or something? I suppose you could say something like that, plus my sword is designed in such a way that I can attack at my full strength without having to worry about seriously injuring anyone, said Naruto, showing Ralsei how the sharp edge is rather at the back of the sword instead of where it's supposed to be. Anyways, Ralsei continues, okay, next let's try defending. Simply defend and the enemy's attack will hurt you less. Not only that, but you'll also gather TP. Naruto perked up at Ralsei speaking about the TP gauge, that he'll finally find out what it's meant for. He heard Ralsei whispering to him, watch the big orange bar on the left. I'll explain it next. Naruto nodded to her as he awaits her directions. Let's try defending, said Ralsei as she watches him get to work. Naruto took a defensive stance by holding the sakubato with one hand and raising his free hand in front of himself to form a circular shield of determination before himself as a form of protection. Great job, Naruto. Now that you've gathered TP, how about spending that TP on one of my spells? Because you hit the enemy enough, it got tired. Now, if I use my pacify spell on it, it'll fall asleep, and we'll win peacefully. Let's try spells. Naruto was intrigued by this new battle mechanic. It has a spell option. Before he does anything, he went to check his magic button and he sees a selection of spells he's used previously. Interesting, I have a variety of spells I've used before during my previous fights or learned from my grimoire. Definitely will come in handy later in case I get into tough situations. Anyways, he focused back on his lessons, concentrating on Ralsei and selecting the magic option which shows the pacify spell which he selected and chose the dummy as the target before confirming his choice. Then Ralsei waved her hand, cast her spell which appears as sparkles falling onto the dummy. Great, Naruto. We would have won the battle by now. Now I have just a little more to teach you. Acting. Through this, even the most violent enemies can be defeated through various ACTs of kindness. Naruto, though it's just a dummy, why not give it a HUG? Let's ACT. Naruto with a deadpan expression just silently looks at Ralsei while thinking, seriously? I swear, this is exactly like with Toriel's tutorial back in the underground when she asked both me and Frisk to interact with a dummy by hugging it. Like, what's with hugging dummies nowadays? Nonetheless, he'll do it just to move on. Naruto went to act and sees the hug option. However, he does see another option which is to hug Ralsei. Now Naruto was interested in that option, wanting to select it but he had to hold himself back from actually hugging Ralsei instead. Naruto silently shook his head and calmed himself. No, bad Naruto. I won't be tempted by hugging Ralsei even if it's a very tantalizing option. I don't want to make her feel uncomfortable if I were to do it, thought Naruto as he decided to go hug the dummy, albeit with great reluctance. Ralsei smiled at this. That's great, Naruto. Each enemy has different ACTs that satisfy them. When an enemy is satisfied, its name turns yellow. When that happens, you can defeat it by sparing it. If we spare all the enemies we meet, we'll never have to fight. Let's spare. Naruto got back to his position and went to the spare button, which he sees a rainbow dummy name which he selected it, hence sparing the dummy. Great job, Naruto. That'd be the end in a real battle. I'm really happy I had the chance to teach you, Naruto. Naruto and Ralsei finished the tutorial battle which they won 0 EXP and $1. Ralsei happily claps her hands, seeing how everything went smoothly for her first ever tutorial guidance. Oh, that was fun. You're a wonderful student, Naruto. And, in case you ever need a refresher, she shyly presents a small handbook to Naruto. I wrote a manual for you and Suzy. You can check it out by opening the menu and use it in your items. Naruto took the manual which disappeared from his hands, but he could sense that he could call it back by mentally accessing the items option in his mind, which is different from the boxes which he would access through his phone thanks to Alphys. Well, I aim to please and thanks for the manual. I'll be sure to check it out later. Ralsei nodded to him as he can take his time if he wants. Now that Naruto knows what he needs to know and learns what the TP gauge is for, Naruto decided it's time to go look for Suzy. He was preparing to move on when he noticed that Ralsei seemed to be feeling down and was wondering why. He saw that she would look at the training dummy, then the path ahead of them a few times, then he realized what was going on. I see, Ralsei was really looking forward to tutoring both Suzy and I, but she left without any consideration and I'm pretty sure she's worried about her. Seriously, that girl doesn't know how to be tactful. Naruto thought of a way to cheer her up and recalled something in particular. This is me wanting to cheer her up, not that I'm finally getting to satisfy my curiosity or anything like that. Ralsei suddenly found herself wrapped in an embrace from Naruto which surprised her. And Naruto, I saw that you were feeling down and I wanted to cheer you up. And to be honest, I prefer hugging you over the practice dummy version of yourself, Naruto explained while still hugging her. Ralsei wanted to say something but no words came out of her mouth as her cheeks tinged pink from being embraced by a male. She had been alone all this time and so being hugged like this it felt really nice. She could hear his heart beating and it gave her a sense of comfort. Thank you, Naruto. Naruto smiled in response, you're very welcome, Ralsei-chan. He let go of Ralsei with the princess feeling a bit disappointed, wanting to be hugged for a little while longer. Let's get a move on. Okay. Naruto along with Ralsei head on towards the path which leads to a gigantic black double door with ornate gold patterns on the sides and a delta rune symbol at the center which is currently open. Oh my! The great door has been opened. No wonder Lancer was able to come through Naruto. Once we pass through this door our adventure will really begin. A journey foretold exactly by the prophecy, but, Naruto, I believe your choices are important, too. This world is full of all kinds of people. In the end, how we treat them makes all the difference. So, let's try our best to get by without fighting. If we can manage to do that I believe this tale may have a happy ending. Otherwise, I fear that you may not find the result favorable. Ralsei realizes how much she was asking of Naruto. Oh, I'm sorry. Is that too much to ask? She's afraid she's pushing her luck. Naruto just smiled as he calmed her down. It's alright Ralsei, I can handle it. Wouldn't be the first time I've been through this kind of situation so this would be a cinch as long as you stick with me, we'll get through this together. Ralsei didn't know what else to say other than smiled at him. Naruto, I knew you were a hero the moment I saw you. Let's try our best, alright? Naruto nods to her as the two enter through the great doors with Naruto going first and Ralsei following but not before closing the doors which signals the beginning of their journey while looking for Suzy. Naruto and Ralsei exit through the great doors which closes themselves shut as they enter a field where there's purple grass on the ground and red-leaved trees around them. Naruto sees a save point which he goes to interact with. With the door closed behind you, your adventure will truly begin. The power of adventure shines within you. Save. Yes/no. Naruto confirms his save file which displays that he and Ralsei are currently at the field great door. So, we're at the fields now huh? Alright, let's see what this area has in store for us, thought Naruto. Then the two continue down the path in front of them together, entering a long pathway which they walked through into another area. Upon entering a new area, Naruto started to hear music in the background while seeing the name of this song it showed before them. The Field of Hopes and Dreams. Nice name. Has a nice ring to it. Actually, that sounds like something Azzy or Askari would name, I'm not gonna lie, thought Naruto as he listens to the tune which is not half bad so far for the start of the theme. Anyway, Naruto sees a sign up ahead in front of them which he approaches it and reads it. Enemies ahead. You're gonna die. Signed, Lancer. Naruto just quirked an eyebrow at this since he doesn't know what to make of this when he finished reading the sign which Lancer signed it to make it look menacing. I don't know if I should take this as a warning or a threat cause I'm gonna be honest, it doesn't feel like it's either of these things, Naruto muttered in mild confusion. Ralsei just smiled as she spoke. Well, I'm sure Lancer was just giving us a warning to let us know there's enemies ahead of us to be wary of. That's nice of him. Naruto doesn't feel the same sentiment though, I'm pretty sure that's not what he intended for but sure. The duo walked through the path when they spotted someone over there. The stranger looked like a white slug with diamond motifs on it. It has a single visible arm holding a diamond-shaped dagger and they wear a diamond-shaped hood on its head. Even its eyes are also diamond-shaped. The stranger notices both Naruto and Ralsei and before they could do or say anything, the stranger rushed at them which made them go into battle as they got into their battle stances. Ruden drew near. So, its name is Ruden. Alright, now let's see how we go about this, thought Naruto in his mind, already knowing what he's starting off with. Obviously, he went over to the ACT button and used check to find out more about Ruden while at the same time, concentrating on Ralsei as he selects the defend button for her as she uses her pink scarf which it moved on its own to cover her for protection. Ruden, ATK, 6DF, 0. This ambivalent diamond isn't any girl's best friend. Face my diamond cutter. Ruden declares as it summoned diamonds spawning on top of them as they're aiming, which appears to be Ralsei as its target first before firing at her. Ralsei had to loosen up her pink scarf a bit for her to see while dodging the incoming diamond attacks that was launched her way. She managed to evade the attacks unscathed while some almost hit her, but safe nonetheless as she uncovers herself from her pink scarf. Ruden dislikes its boss, but doesn't care enough to quit. This is no different from back at the underground, just need to find a way to persuade the enemy not to fight. The info should give me clues to pacify it, thought Naruto. Since it's his turn, he immediately went to ACT and used convince to talk Ruden into quit fighting while having Ralsei to defend herself in the process as a precaution. Hey there, I can see you clearly doing a pretty good job. But I gotta ask if you're being paid well enough for it, he asked. Ruden simply replied, barely. If that's the case, why don't you work smarter instead of harder? Your boss isn't here to supervise you, so what he doesn't know can't hurt you and you still get paid. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Ruden began to be swayed by his words. Exactly. So instead of wasting your energy on fighting us, why don't you just take a load off? You deserve it for being such a hard worker, and it's not like your boss is around to see, so you should be fine, said Naruto as he puts his words to work, which seems to have fully convinced Ruden. That's so true, thanks for the advice. Alright, now it's fully convinced, I should be able to spare Ruden without issue, said Naruto in thought as he knows this fight is almost over once he spares Ruden in their next turn. Ruden then summons more diamonds spawning from below that move upwards towards them, which apparently is targeting Ralsei for the second time. She once again evades the diamonds with little issue, and it didn't take long for her to be safe after the attack stopped. Ruden has no strong opinions one way or the other. Naruto immediately went to the spare button, which Ruden's name is yellow, which told him all he needed to know that he can ultimately spare him to end the battle, which he did as he spared Ruden, and the battle is over while he puts away his Sakabato. You won. Earned 0 XP and $38. Wow. That was impressive. You handled this fight perfectly well with no issue. You sure have a way with words, Naruto. It's like you've done something like this before, said Ralsei, happily praising Naruto while clapping her hands to congratulate him. Naruto simply smiled in response. I guess you could say that I've been through this sort of situation like this before, but it's nothing. Anyways, that was just our first official encounter in real battle, and it was only one enemy we faced. There's bound to be more as we go, so this is just the beginning. Ralsei smiled, wholeheartedly agreeing with him. Right. Alright, so let's continue where we left off and wait. Whoa. As he was about to finish his sentence, he hears the song from before resume playing, and as it did, the theme began dropping the beat, which made Naruto like it a lot. This song is quite catchy. Really perks you up, thought Naruto while tap his feet on the ground in time with the rhythm as he listens to the music while it's playing in the background and noting that the grass is lively moving in tune. Ralsei was just watching him with a smile. At first she was confused by his reaction, then realized that it's because he's listening to the song, which she found it enjoyable to listen to. Naruto suddenly stopped bopping his head as he began to take a proper view of the new environment and decided to sit down on the purple but comfy grass to properly take in the beauty of the environment whilst listening to the song. It wasn't that he's tired or anything, far from it, but he just wanted to pace himself and relax since he's not exactly having a serious deadline on their adventure. There's no telling what dangers that awaits them. Plus, he also wanted to learn more about the dark world which he's in and the residents that live here, since it feels quite similar to the underground, so he wants to see more of this world as much as he possibly can. Not to mention that they're not in a rush to save the world, let alone looking for Suzy in a hurry, since he's pretty sure she hasn't gotten too far ahead even if she wanted to, so this is fine to at least get to know the dark world better and getting to know Ralsei while he's at it. He turned to Ralsei as he beckons her to sit down with him by patting on the purple grass, which Ralsei asks curiously, Naruto? You want to sit down a little? Yup, no need to rush. Just take your time to relax a bit, Naruto affirmed with a smile. Okay. A tiny break doesn't sound bad, said Ralsei. Then she sits next to Naruto, both enjoying the cheerful music in each other's company. None of them really wanted to get up and save the world at this point, and they weren't being selfish either. They just wanted to enjoy the moment with each other's company. Despite them only knowing each other for a couple of hours, it felt like a spark. Giving your trust to someone you hardly knew was scary but rewarding sometimes, and both were enjoying it. Then Naruto began to hum along with the song, much to Ralsei's surprise, since it's the first she's hearing his soft voice. She reluctantly started singing as well, and it didn't take long for them to start singing in harmony. They stayed there, singing, prolonging their break on saving the world. A truly peaceful and sweet moment. For Ralsei, she had always dreamed of doing something like this with a friend. She had read many stories about such moments and often imagines herself in them, but now she's doing it for real, and it already feels much better than how she imagined it would. She felt so relaxed that she started feeling drowsy and began to nod off. Naruto was suddenly brought back to reality from listening and humming along with the music when he felt something pressed against his shoulder. He looked to his right and, to his surprise, found Ralsei sleepily leaning against his right shoulder. Naruto felt a bit embarrassed since he was so focused on the song itself to notice that she was leaning on his shoulder. He just sat there, still as a statue, as he felt a cold sensation through his spine but didn't move. Yet, he tried to hide the small blush on his face since he wasn't expecting something like this to happen. I guess she got very relaxed to the point of almost falling asleep, thought Naruto nervously. He then tried to get her comfortable and shift his position to let her rest her head onto his shoulder more properly, which made him blush harder for what he's doing. Seeing the look of comfort on her face made him smile and close his eyes in content as they just enjoy their tender moment, sitting in silence while peacefully listening to the music. Couple of minutes had passed and Naruto slowly opened his eyes, then realized that he had fallen asleep like Ralsei did. Speaking of which, Naruto sees her still leaning on his shoulder, which made him blush but smile at how cute and adorable she looks. However, as much he wants to remain this way for a little while longer, he knows they need to focus back on their mission, which is to go look for Suzy and saving this world if he wants to go back home. Naruto attempts to wake up Ralsei by gently shaking her a bit, which only made her shift her head closer to his neck with a content smile on her face. Naruto started to blush harder at this predicament, for this is not what he intended, but still find this too cute. A part of him just want to leave her be and sleep on his shoulder a bit more, while the more logical part of him says that now's not the time for this since he needs to get back on track, which is to search for Suzy and save the Dark World. Obviously, he went with the latter as the more responsible choice, for he has a role to play if he wants to help Ralsei save the Dark World by sealing the fountain. Naruto tries to wake Ralsei again as he quietly said, "Ralsei, come on. Time to wake up." Ralsei slowly opens her eyes, and the first thing she sees is Naruto smiling at her. Morning sunshine. She smiled at him and was about to greet him in response, but then noticed, due to her vision returning to her, that she's up close to Naruto's face, and even more so that she's leaning her head on his shoulder. Which can only mean she must have slept onto Naruto's shoulder this whole time. Out of sheer embarrassment, Ralsei blushed with her black cheeks redder than a strawberry as she removed her head from Naruto's shoulder and pulls her hat over her face to cover it, whilst blurting out, "Oh my gosh. I am so sorry. I didn't mean to sleep on your shoulder like that." Naruto simply smiled, since Frisk does the same thing and grew less awkward each time, even as he does the same since for some reason he's comfortable to be around. "Whoa there, it's okay Ralsei. It's fine, you don't need to apologize for resting on my shoulder. Really. If anything, I chose to let you rest on my shoulder since you were looking a bit drowsy from listening to the music peacefully, and I didn't want to disturb you while you were being so comfortable. So, it's okay. I didn't mind it." Ralsei slowly lifts her hat to peek at Naruto. "Ah, really? You mean that?" "I do. So don't worry about it." Ralsei smiled in relief as she seemed to slowly calm down. "Oh, okay." Naruto smiled while thinking, "Also, I have to admit, you look pretty adorable as you were sleeping onto me. But I'll keep that to myself." Anyways, after their moment is over, Naruto rose to his feet while stretching a bit since he was feeling a bit stiff from sitting on the ground for this long, and Ralsei watched him do so. "Well, I enjoyed our little break together, if we can call it that, but I think we should probably resume back our mission, which is to go look for Suzy first. then help save the world. Don't you agree? Oh. Right, I agree, said Ralsei in agreement. Alright then, let's get going. Naruto extends his hand out to Ralsei, which she blushes as she stares at it, then towards the blonde, who smiles while nodding in encouragement and beckons her to take his hand. Ralsei smiled while still blushing as she accepted his offer by holding his hand, then finds herself being easily pulled up to her feet. They stared at each other with smiles on their faces while Naruto is still holding her hand until he realizes he hasn't let go of her hand after lift her up. Naruto let go while getting his blush under control. Anyway, best we get moving. Alright, Ralsei nodded eagerly in agreement, wanting to do something about the awkward atmosphere. They resumed their journey while inwardly happy about having taken the time to know each other better, especially Ralsei, who values this moment with her new friend greatly and hopes that she can have the same with Suzy too. The two come across another sign, which Naruto went over to read what it says. If you're reading this, I guess you're dead. Signed, Lancer. Okay, I'm starting to believe he's just messing with us if he thinks one enemy was gonna be enough. Not to mention there wasn't any other enemies we've encountered so far, said Naruto as he's fully convinced Lancer is just screwing around with them for fun. Well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see for ourselves. I'm sure everything will be just fine so long as we stick together to overcome any obstacles that comes our way, said Ralsei, being optimistic like always. Heh, I suppose you're right about that. Alright, let's continue moving forward. The two continue on their path down through the field, leaving the area in the process. They arrive at a different area as they took a left through the path, and soon, they caught sight of Lancer standing next to a sign. They came over to him but not before checking out the sign. Hey, don't read this sign. It's a work in progress. Signed, Lancer. Naruto didn't say anything to this since he assumes that Lancer probably ran out of things to say to put on a sign, so he just ignored it and went straight to Lancer, which he took notice of both Naruto and Ralsei approaching him. Ho ho ho, well, if it isn't my two favorite people, said Lancer, greeting with his typical childish tone. Psyche. You guys aren't even in my top 5. Naruto just shrugged his shoulders since he didn't really much care about it, which was fine by him. Lancer. Where's Suzy? Said Ralsei, trying to do an angry face, but it was cuter than scary. You mean the purple girl? Ho ho ho, you fools. You're too late to stop me. Said Lancer full of gusto. Hearing those words filled Ralsei with worry. What did you do? Ha ha ha, it was so simple. She beat me up, so I ran away, said Lancer proudly as Ralsei got confused while Naruto just sweat drops at that. Well, that would explain why I'm noticing a few scratch marks on his clothes, thought Naruto, considering this to be something Suzy would do if someone annoys her, then would unfortunately get beat up. That's a bit anticlimactic, said Ralsei as she made a face indescribable. So are you just going to stand there? I thought you would at least run to the right. Why? The purple girl's over there, said Lancer, clearly not wanting to run into Suzy and get beaten up by her again. Man, whatever Suzy did to him, she must have really beat this kid up badly. Well, at least we know she's not far from us, which is to be expected of course, thought Naruto, feeling somewhat sympathetic towards Lancer for him getting beat up in spite of him being the enemy. Anyway, since Suzy isn't far from where we are, Naruto decided to explore the other path. They went there to inspect it and saw a tree with some sort of fruit on them. Naruto sees a sign next to it and went to read it. These types of trees don't contain an item that can heal you. Whatever you do, don't pick the dark candies from the tree and put them in your storage so you can use them to heal yourself. You got it. Signed, Lancer. Pfft. Yeah, right. Like I would listen to that, said Naruto as he just rolled his eyes at the obvious warning Lancer put on. Here telling him to not pick the supposed dark candies from the tree, which it could heal both him and Ralsei, which he be a fool to not pick them up. Naruto went over to the tree, which a text suddenly appeared before him. There are 2 objects hanging from the tree. Take one. Yes/no. Naruto obviously went with yes since it's a no-brainer for him and took the 2 objects from tree which it identified as the dark candy like the sign said. He examined the dark candies as they were in a shape of a red and black star. So, there's food down here as well. Well, I suppose this makes sense given I have 2 dark candies in my hand which is native in the dark world. Plus, I wouldn't be surprised if they have food down here just like in the underground, but in this case, in the dark world that's only found here. Not gonna lie though, even though it's identified as candy, it looks a lot more like some sort of fruit to me, but I'm not one to judge. Looks can be deceiving after all, thought Naruto while he contemplates on what he's gonna do with them. He is curious to learn what it tastes like, but it might be better if he saves them for later. As he was debating on what he should do, Ralsei spoke up, Naruto, are you planning on conserving them? It would be beneficial if we save them up for an emergency just in case we are in danger in battle. Naruto replied, yeah, you're not wrong cause I was thinking about that too. How about we save one up for later and use the other to try out? I'll split it up for myself and for you to share as a compromise. Is that alright with you, Ralsei? Of course. I don't mind that. If that's what you want then I'll respect your decision, said Ralsei smilingly, making Naruto smile as well. Alright. Then it's settled. Naruto puts the dark candy away into his storage and quickly checks on his stats to see if it's been stored into his items, which he indeed sees it is. However, he also notices that the first item he took from that unknown area when he first arrived in the dark world is also visible in his items as well, which wasn't originally there before until now, so I still have that glow's heart I picked up from that other place I found. Good to know I still have it and it's in my items. Strange that it didn't appear there before when I checked. Better make a mental note of double checking my items just in case I pick up something or purchase things down here. Anyways, he split the dark candy into 2 halves for himself and for Ralsei. He gave the other half to Ralsei, which she accepted it with gratitude. Before he tries the dark candy, Naruto silently watches her as she took a quick bite out of the dark candy while waiting for her reaction of what it tastes like to her. In no time, Ralsei's eyes widening as she appears to enjoy eating that dark candy with amazement. Yummy! Marshmallows! Said Ralsei after eating it. Naruto was surprised and curious after hearing Ralsei saying that. Now his expectation is high if it was that good for Ralsei to enjoy. Naruto immediately bites into his own dark candy and needless to say, his face reflexed up with the taste as he smiled savoring it. Ralsei was right, this does taste like marshmallows as she described, wow. This is probably one of the best things I ever tried. Toriel's butterscotch pie is still better though, he thought, nothing can rival her butterscotch pie, no contest well with the exception of ramen because it's the foods of the gods to him. After enjoying their dark candy, the duo went back to where Lancer was but turned right to go look for Suzy. Before they could get farther ahead, Lancer called out to them. Hey, if you head that way, my troops will thrash you, Lancer threatened them. Is that a threat? Asked Ralsei. I prefer to think of it as an invitation, Lancer smiled while sticking his tongue out. Naruto mentally rolled his eyes but didn't say a word as both him and Ralsei continued on where they're going. It didn't take long for them to see another Ruden there as Lancer said, but this one looks slightly different. This Ruden seemed a little happier compared to the other one they've faced. Nonetheless, he knows how to handle them with ease, so this should be no problem for both him and Ralsei. They went up to Ruden, which it took notice of them and immediately run towards them, and in no time, they got into their battle phase. A necklace of Rudens blocks your path. Naruto quickly notices that there's not one but 2 Rudens now who suddenly joined in out of nowhere, which he doesn't know where did the second one came from. Either way it doesn't change anything, let alone the outcome of this fight. He wasted no time going straight for the ACT button and immediately went to convince the first Ruden while having Ralsei to defend herself in the process. Obviously the first Ruden was easily and utterly swayed after telling it to quit fighting. Both were targeted by the Rudens as they prepare for the incoming attack launched by the Rudens. Naruto had to evade, dodge and blocking them by using his Sakabato. Ralsei was dodging around as she was doing her best to not get hit by their diamond cutter attacks until they stopped their assault, as well as Ralsei uncovering herself from her scarf. Ruden thinks about elaborate stones. Naruto didn't think too much on that info since he was aiming to finish this fight quickly as possible. Like with the first Ruden, Naruto did the exact same thing onto the second Ruden by going to the ACT button and convince it to not fight as well while having Ralsei to spare the first Ruden after selecting the spare button due to the first Ruden's name being yellow. The second Ruden was utterly swayed like the first one while Ralsei spared the other Ruden, which the only one left is the second Ruden left standing to get through. It tried targeting Ralsei, which she was able to quickly dodge without issue until the Ruden ended its attack. Ruden thinks about elaborate stones. Seeing there's only one thing left to do now, Naruto went to the spare button and went on to spare the Ruden without hesitation while having Ralsei do the same, which both of them spared the last Ruden together, ending the battle with no issue. You won. Got 0 EXP and $66. Another successful fight. Alright, let's resume our search for Suzy. Shall we? Asked Naruto with a smile, which Ralsei smiled in return as she nodded in response. The two continued on their path, which up ahead they see a yellow Italian chief with a sad look on his face. Out of curiosity, they approached him as he started spinning. Excuse me sir, are you alright? We couldn't help but notice you're looking rather upset about something, asked Naruto out of curiosity and concern, but he also noticed there's cake behind the yellow Italian chief on the table, but it looks half-eaten, which makes him suspect it might have something to do with that half-eaten cake behind the guy. Mama Maiba. I'm top chef. My latest cake worked me to exhaustion. So, I took a little nap, but, Mama Maiba. A scary noise woke me up. A beast was hunched on the table, eating the cake like an animal. I spritzed it with water, and it hissed and ran off. But my wonderful cake is, he couldn't finish his sentence with the memory of the event as he was too devastated by his cake that worked him to exhaustion, which is now reduced to half-eaten beast chow, which only made the poor dude cry. Naruto deduced that by Top Chef's description about a beast and its behavior, he confirmed that this is definitely Suzy's doing without a doubt. Ah, Naruto. That sounds like Suzy. We must be going the right way. Let's try to keep her out of any more trouble, said Ralsei urgently. Easier said than done if it was that possible, thought Naruto with a grumble. The yellow Italian chef overheard what Ralsei said as he spoke up. Emma Mama Maiba. Emma Mama Shiba. You know that beast. Please don't come back. Naruto bowed to the top chef in an apologetic way as he said, Look, I'm very sorry about this. Rest assured we will try to keep her out trouble to prevent something like this from happening, if possible. The top chef replies, Please see that you do. That beast of yours is a menace I tell you. I'm fully aware of that. Believe me, I would know from my personal experience with her. While the top chef was still grieving over the loss of his cake masterpiece, Naruto went over the table to get a good look at it to see what kind of damage Suzy did to it. As he approached it, a text suddenly popped up. The remains of the cake are still smoldering, take a piece. Yes/no. Naruto wasn't sure if he should take it considering this would be considered stealing, but the cake was already damaged enough and Top Chef was too busy crying over there without looking as Ralsei tries to comfort him. Naruto decided to pick yes and silently took the broken cake which was added to his key items. Sorry Top Chef, but I'm doing this to save this world. Hope he doesn't take notice that I took some cake for myself, thought Naruto as he knows what he just did was wrong, but he'll need any healing items in order to be prepared for any situation that's thrown at his way. Ralsei, come on. We're leaving. Oh. Of course, said Ralsei as she's prepared to follow, but not before letting Top Chef know everything will be okay and promise she'll make it up to him later before rejoining Naruto to continue on their way. The two encountered another Ruden, and to be honest, Naruto would much rather avoid fighting the same enemy as he was considering running past him, but doing so means he won't earn any $, which he believes will be crucial in purchasing items and etc. later on. Reluctantly, he along with Ralsei went over to the Ruden which, like previous ones from before, it took notice and run towards them, which ultimately began their battle phase. Ruden and Hathi blocked the way. Naruto was slightly curious about this new enemy whose name is Hathi that joined in the fight. This darkner resembles of a heart card suit, but their color scheme is green, the color opposite from the color of the heart suit is red. It stands on 3 tentacles and appear to wear a crown and a white dress with a green heart on it. Like Ruden, it only has its right tentacle arm visible, holding a scepter with hearts on the extremities. Its head is shaped like a heart, and they have a big mouth and no visible eyes. To be honest, Naruto was somewhat happy it ain't just Rudens they're gonna fight again because he was wondering if there were gonna be any other enemies aside from Rudens they've encountered so far until now. Naruto went over to ACT and was about to select Hathi so he can check to find out what are its stats, but he decided he will hold it off as he'd much rather get rid of Ruden before focusing on Hathi. Like usual, he selected Ruden and went to convince it while having Ralsei to defend herself against incoming attacks. He told Ruden to quit fighting like he did with the others before it, which of course, it was utterly swayed by his words. He noticed Hathi couldn't speak but showing a heart shaped with sharp teeth as both him and Ralsei are being targeted by the swayed Ruden and Hathi which are preparing themselves against them. Hathi summoned multiple hearts circling around both Naruto and Ralsei as Ruden spawned diamonds from below moving upwards towards them. They dodged from the diamond attacks while Naruto also used his Sakabato to block most of the attacks without issue as the attack stopped. Hathi has a little secret. Naruto was curious at that information as he wanted to know what kind of secret it is which could help us. Seeing that Ruden is ready to be spared, Naruto went to act and this time, he selected Hathi to check its stats but before he pressed the button, he noticed 2 different options, Flatter and X-Flatter which involves Ralsei. Naruto wanted to know what those options could do but he decided to wait on that until his next turn so he went ahead and pressed check button to proceed while having Ralsei to spare Ruden to get it out of the way. Hathi, ATK, 7DF, 0. I am a little kiss. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that last part but didn't think too much about it. Once that's done and Ralsei sparing Ruden, all that's left is Hathi. It started blowing heart-shaped kisses at Naruto due to being targeted. Naruto was a little weirded out by that but he remained calm and focused while being on guard. Ralsei for some reason didn't like how Hathi just started blowing heart-shaped kisses at Naruto like that, which was a strange yet odd feeling she felt. She doesn't know why she felt that way when she saw what Hathi did but didn't think much about it as she focused back on the fight while pondering about that weird feeling later. Anyway, Hathi began to summon a large heart with Naruto being inside it to box him in. The heart started to move in cardinal directions around him until it stopped at the left-west side and started more towards left as Naruto has to move along to avoid taking damage before ending the attack. Hathi's body beats audibly. Naruto went to act and began to try out the X-Flatter option which he selected as he ordered Ralsei to flatter all the enemies even though it was only just Hathi. We don't need EXP. Just encountering your smile is reward enough, said Ralsei, which made Hathi looked away flustered by Ralsei's flattery. It targeted Ralsei and just like Naruto, she too was boxed in by a large heart as it's moving around until it stopped at the upper north side which began to move upwards as Ralsei followed along so she doesn't get hit, which ended the attack. Hathi is whispering a lovely spell. Naruto started to move towards the spare button which he selected and have Ralsei do the same as the 2 spared Hathi, which resulted them winning the fight, thus ending the battle sequence. You won. Got 0 EXP and $64. Alright, I must say it's refreshing to fight someone else that isn't the enemy from our previous battles, right? Said Naruto, putting away his Sakabato. Ralsei nodded in agreement. Oh. Yes, it does actually. Hopefully any possible enemies we may encounter are friendly like Ruden and Hathi are so we can avoid fighting. Who knows, but something tells me it might happen sooner than you may realize, said Naruto, given his experience from his past adventures in the underground. As the 2 resumes where they're going, they stumbled upon a familiar tree which Naruto realizes it's another tree that has dark candy like the previous one before. Naruto wasted to no time grabbing both dark candies and stored them away in his items for later use. They continued onward, which led to a puzzle room with a clock and spikes blocking the way. Naruto sees a sign on the wall which he went over to read what it says. Check the clock. In order to solve this puzzle, you'll have to hurry. Huh, so this particular puzzle has a timer for this. So, I have to solve this puzzle before the clock ends. This ought to be interesting, said Naruto as he's been with Papyrus enough to know what kind of puzzles he'll be doing, and this was one of them. You done something similar like this before? Asked Ralsei curiously. Naruto replied, yup. This puzzle should be simple if my hunch is correct about this one in particular. Just follow my lead and we'll get this done. Ralsei nodded while waiting for him to start as he went over to the clock and began to start it up, which meant the timer for the puzzle is now ticking. On the ground, one of the 3 rocks lit up. Naruto stepped on it and the other 2 lit up as well. He and Ralsei quickly stepped onto both a little more, which caused the spikes to disappear, meaning that they completed the clock puzzle. Wow! We managed to finish this puzzle within seconds. You're amazing, Naruto. You definitely know what you're doing, said Ralsei, praising him, which Naruto just smiled while rubbing his hand, the back of his head slightly flustered from her praising him. Come on, Ralsei, you're making me blush from all your praising. It was nothing really. Besides, that was probably just a basic puzzle that we completed. I'm sure there are others that'll be complicated and challenging for me to solve. So, let's be ready for any challenges that'll come our way, alright? Ralsei with a warm smile replied, okay. The 2 continued on their journey as they exit the puzzle room to enter a new area where Naruto was able to see a save point up ahead along with a sign next to it. Naruto went over to the save point first and save, albeit there was no message pop up this time, just the name of where he last saved. Naruto saved his save file, and that said file told him they're now at the field maze of death. Now he knows where they are. While not fazed by the name, he went over to the sign to see what it says as he reads it. Behold, the maze of death. Prepare to get lost, clowns. Signed, Lancer. Naruto just quirked an eyebrow at this but didn't make any comment, since he believes Lancer is trying to be threatening, which he was failing horribly at. Especially he's going around putting up signs just to deter them from continuing their journey. This doesn't bother him, but he couldn't help himself from just shaking his head at this obvious warning. Let's just keep going, said Naruto as he walked forward, which Ralsei simply followed suit. It didn't take long for them to come across another sign, which he went over to see what Lancer put for this one. Feeling lost yet? You must be utterly helpless among these twists and turns. Your sense of direction won't save you now. Signed, Lancer. Naruto just shook his head more at this, which Ralsei can clearly see he's not amused at Lancer's attempt to act like a villain. She doesn't blame him though, since even she can see Lancer is doing a poor job but isn't vocal about it. Nonetheless, hopefully things will get better for the most part, as she prefers to be friends with everyone rather than enemies. Anyways, Naruto was about to head towards the bottom path, but he noticed something laying on the ground far from both him and Ralsei. He went to go check it out, which it looked some sort of an enemy he never seen before, as its appearance resembles of a jigsaw puzzle with a mouse with floppy ears that's wearing a hat. It wasn't the only one though, as there's 2 more found farther ahead and they all look like they got clobbered, which it can only be one thing: Suzy. Yup, this is Suzy's handiwork alright. Leaving a trail of unconscious enemy bodies behind who are clobbered up to the point they might be having severe head trauma from their beating, which is probably her calling card as well, her trademark. It also looks like this has all been recent for some time now. We must be getting close enough to find Suzy at this rate, said Naruto as he's checking the unconscious enemy body to determine its state of condition, in which the same can be said for the others as well. Oh dear. Then we must hurry and find Suzy before she causes more harm to others and herself, said Ralsei out of concern. I wouldn't worry about that, she's capable of handling herself well enough, but rest assured, we'll find her before something like this were to happen again. Ralsei just gave him a nod in appreciation, as she's happy to hear that. They continued down to the path, which they took a right as they happened to stumble across yet another sign, which Naruto went over to see what Lancer put out this time. Hey, wait. Where am I? Help. Somebody help. I'm lost. Signed, Lancer. Naruto just rolled his eyes at this, as Lancer is making it look like he's lost, but he's really not. Without a word, he kept going while Ralsei followed when they discover a chest at the end of the path. He went over to it, opens the chest, which inside is a white ribbon. As he took the white ribbon out of the chest, it was put into his armors. That ribbon is armor, Naruto. It increases defense. Why don't you try wearing it in the equipment menu? I think it'd look great on you. Naruto just looked at Ralsei while giving her the "Are you serious?" look towards her as his expression showed that he doesn't believe that. Seriously, there's no way I'm gonna be wearing a ribbon on me regardless it's armor. Besides, I don't exactly need it, to be honest, since I'm pretty capable of handling myself just fine with or without armor. Ralsei on the other hand, thought Naruto, as he's sure she needs armor more than he does. That, and he can see she'll look cute in wearing a ribbon. Wait, this gave him an idea. Naruto summoned his stats to access his equip option and took out the white ribbon out of his armors. Then he went over to her and puts the white ribbon on her hat. He saw Ralsei blushed at this as he finishes attaching it to her. "And Naruto? You're giving it to me?" she questioned him, blushing. Naruto nodded as he is indeed giving it to her. Ralsei just blushed without saying a word for his kind gesture until she spoke up. "Well, does it look pretty?" asked Ralsei as she spun around to show him how she looked. Naruto just stared at Ralsei as he couldn't help but remind her of Frisk when she wears that faded ribbon on her hair, and there's only one word that comes to mind. "Appealing," said Naruto out loud, which Ralsei heard what he said, which made her blush harder from the compliment. Realizing what Naruto had said, he blushed from blurting that out as he said, I meant to say was cute." "Yeah, that's right, cute. You're definitely cute with that white ribbon on. Definitely brings out your cuteness." He was too embarrassed after what he said as he's trying to regain his composure from him blurting out from calling Ralsei appealing, which he wasn't lying about it but didn't want to say it out loud. Ralsei was blushing still as she's replaying the words Naruto had said in her mind. He called me be appealing and see cute? Oh my. She was embarrassed by the compliments, but she's flattered by his honesty. She heard Naruto speak up. Anyway, let's just get going, okay?" Which Ralsei lightly nodded but held a slight giggle at his behavior as Naruto tries to regain his composure while walking a bit faster, which Ralsei quickly followed suit. Anyways, the two left the area and went to the opposite direction, which have led them to a dead end, but there's someone over there which happened to be one of the enemies that must have survived getting clobbered by Suzy. Naruto was about to approach the darkner, but it noticed him and his companion as it backed away in fear as it spoke. "Wo. Wait a minute. Even if you're my enemy, I've got to warn you. A purple beast is roaming, clobbering anyone who dares block her way. Sob, we don't even like fighting. The king left us no choice." Naruto frowned at this as clearly Suzy doesn't care who she's hurting if you're her enemy or not. Anyone that gets in her way is gonna end up like the others she clobbered. He heard Ralsei speak. Oh Naruto, we need to stop Suzy, quick." Which Naruto looked at her and said, "I know, that's the idea. It's abundantly clear Suzy has no morals to others around her, no matter who she hurts. Best we step up our pace in finding her soon." Ralsei nodded in agreement as Naruto turned over to the darkner enemy, who was tense at Naruto staring at him, which he spoke. "Look, we're not gonna hurt you. We're actually looking for that purple beast who so happens to be an associate of ours. Rest assured we'll find her and hopefully stop her from causing too much trouble." The enemy darkner then said, Really? I hope so, that beast got some serious issues. I thought I was gonna die from her brutality." "Well, you're definitely lucky, she must have spared you unlike your allies back there. If there's any consolation, your friends are still alive, just clobbered up good to unconsciousness." "It actually does. I just didn't want to be seen by her as she went on a rampage on my friends as I was hiding." "Well, you made a smart choice for doing that. I recommend you take your unconscious buddies over there somewhere safe and get them checked out. Can't tell ya if they might be suffering from brain damage depending how bad Suzy must have inflicted on them." "I'll do just that. Thanks for the advice, Lightner." Naruto was slightly confused by being called a Lightner, but nonetheless smiled as he said, "No problem." As they were almost finished talking, Ralsei was listening in on their conversation, and she was very happy and proud at how Naruto is genuinely friendly to others. In her eyes, there was no doubt in her mind that Naruto is truly the hero who'll save the dark world. She couldn't help but admire him for how he's handling the situation like he's been through this before. It's amazing despite it being his first time here in the dark world, but he seems to quickly adjust while remaining calm to handle what situations he'll face, especially in battle. Naruto is so amazing. I just wish I could be brave and cool like him, said Ralsei thoughtfully in admiration, but also wishing she's just like Naruto, who's confident in himself while she's just her. Ralsei. Are you okay? She heard Naruto calling her name, which she quickly said. Oh. Why yeah. I'm okay. I'm just thinking to myself, that's all. Naruto just stared at her for a bit but just simply said, well, okay. It looks like you were in deep thought or something. Just checking to see you're alright. Ralsei smiled assuredly, not to worry about me, I'm okay. Alright then. Well, I'm done talking to that darkner now, so let's focus on finding Suzy, which Ralsei nodded as the two left the path, went downward to see two different paths. He went to the right side where there's a dead end with only a sign there. Naruto went over to read it to see what this one says. Hey, don't look. This sign's private. Signed, Lancer. Naruto wasn't sure why Lancer wrote this, but he's guessing he's running out of random things to write on. He simply left the area with Ralsei following him as they take the left side where another sign is there, which of course, he reads it. Oh, it's just this way. Signed, Lancer. Naruto just rolled his eyes at this yet again before he moves forward with Ralsei following behind him. It didn't take long for them to see Lancer standing in the middle of a field until he noticed them approaching. Ho ho ho. Somehow, you survived the maze. But don't count your blessings before they hatch. Let's see how you fare against this team. Said Lancer as he sends 3 halfies at them, which both Naruto and Ralsei immediately got into their battle stance. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 9. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Hussbek on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.